Hello everyone and welcome to State of the Realm, your weekly Final Fantasy XIV podcast. This week we have on many guests, this is a 5-person show, to talk about the recent North American Feast Regional Championships from the Fan Festival, as well as the state of PvP currently. Since Slyh and I are far from experts in that category, we figured we'd bring on some actual experts for a show like this. But to do that show, we're going to need some people. I'm one of them, Mr. Happy. Of course, we have Slyh, a.k.a. Slythefox, a.k.a. Slyh, a.k.a. Greyfox, a.k.a. my boy Blue. How you doing, Slyh?
Doing pretty good. Happy, when was the last time you actually PvP'd?
When was the last time you could speak?
Damn.
That's my answer.
Damn, look at Sly's face.
In the feast. In the feast. When was the last time you could speak in the feast? Use your words. That was the answer. That's a long time ago, man.
Yeah.
And as a lot of you probably already recognize, the third voice you've heard, we have on fellow podcaster, head of Mog Talk, FrostyTV. How are you doing, Frosty?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good.
Okay.
Now that there's no more images, I was gonna wait till we introduce everyone to swap over, but
okay.
I said no cameras for the other two guests. So about 15 minutes ago.
I even showered for this.
Damn, he was.
Oh, damn.
For once, yeah.
First time this week.
First.
Wow.
First time this week. And our final two guests are Mateo and Nikoza from the current 2018 North American Regional Champions for the Feast from the team Synergy 6, which I had the pleasure of watching live. That was hype. How you guys doing?
Go ahead,
You're both being so polite to each other. You're like,
we're Canadians, man.
Doing great, man. Thanks so much for having us.
Go Aider!
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like I feel such shit because I'm the only primal boy here, and God.
I mean,
show.
I'm gonna be honest with you. If you call yourself a PvPer, you're not like you're like on all data centers. It's not like you're on one. You're jumping from data center to data center. Like Mateo, I like that, by the way. Happy Mateo, I like that a lot.
Mateo.
So they went.
I don't know. We're everywhere.
Yeah.
We're everywhere. I'm
everywhere.
not soon to be on Crystal. Balmung had a pretty big PvP community, so Crystal,
That's a sensitive subject, man.
Do you want to get it? Do you want to dive into it for a quick tirade? We can allow it.
That's going to be an hour of the show, I'm sure of it.
Yeah, we have Frosty here, and he's got to go by 4, so he's going to have some self-control.
Actually, you know what? It actually turned out that I could get things adjusted last minute. But I was like, everybody's already rescheduled, so I don't want to make it change. It was not. I see that.
I could have still been dancing, Happy.
Could have been dancing.
Me, him.
I could have been dancing.
No.
Dance for us now, Slyh. Come on, get ready for Dancer in 5. Everyone wants it. This is the reveal right now. Right now. You're even in a blue shirt. You're a blue dancer. Is it blue or purple? I can't tell the difference.
It's blue.
Okay. I took a shot in the dark at that one.
It's pretty good. You did good. But no, just to let you guys know, I wanted to start early because I knew I was supposed to work in 2 hours, but then they're like, hey man, we need you to work on this different day. And I'm like, okay. But then it was already 24 hours till. I'm like, am I going to reschedule everyone again in another 2 hours? I didn't know. So I just said, fuck it. We just go with it. Right.
That's fine.
Would you rather me tell you and just say, hey, let's reschedule?
No, I would have kept it regardless.
Okay.
Just to upset Slyh and to stop his dancing. Okay. But so this show, we don't do PvP shows all too often. I think it's fair to say with our lack of expertise on it, it's not a topic we can speak about. We always skip over PvP in the patch notes. We always skip over, hey, they added a new mode or anything because we're not knowledgeable. So if us talking about it is not fair. I feel like that's not a reasonable perspective, right? You know?
Fair enough. Yeah.
This is why we bring in the experts.
That's why we bring in the experts. That's why we brought on our two of our North American champions. And
yes,
you, I guess.
And me, that's like kind of there. I just exist.
You commentated for the Feast Regional Championship. So I say we start off with talking about that, because that's kind of one of the big things that kind of has brought us all together for this show. Now, Frosty, you've been on the show before, so we're going to do you last.
Sure.
As a guest.
Okay.
All right.
That's fine. I mean, I'm okay with it.
We'll let the guests, the first time guests, go first. So we'll start with Nikoza instead of just throwing the mic to both of them and seeing what happens. This was the first kind of major Feast tournament that they've had, and PvP has always been kind of a sensitive topic in terms of the community and how it's generally viewed. So with this event, were you excited that this kind of event was actually being supported by Square Enix officially, or did you just was it just kind of going through the motions of PvP, so I guess I'll do it?
Honestly, it was a little bit surprising, because it was never really done before. I mean, like last FanFest, they had like a kind of almost like a, what was it? Like a pickup group almost kind of tournament. And it wasn't really like anything serious. It was like, t-shirts for the rewards and stuff. So this time it was obviously a lot more serious. There was a ladder beforehand. And so it was kind of a nice treat to see Square Enix do this. It was a good, I think it was a good step in the right direction. And I don't know. I would like to see them do more of this in the future.
All right. Excellent. Mateo, I will pass the same question along to you. How did you feel about the whole thing?
I was really excited, to be honest with you. I mean, when it was announced, we were all really hyped, because it was something that I think, I'm not sure what season exactly it was announced in, but it was way down the line. So prior to them actually announcing something quote unquote official, which it was, there was a lot of community events that were popping up all over the place, different data centers, Japan, EU, NA, that we all had a lot of fun in. And we were kind of secretly hoping that they take some ideas and be like, hey, you know what? Maybe we can actually do this for ourselves and sponsor and just go ham with, have fun with it, right? So we were really surprised and excited that this kind of thing came to fruition. It was a lot of fun, and we do hope that they expand on it. Maybe, like I think Nick said it a couple times, do like a world scene maybe, and just, go big with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping we would hear something about like pulling all the champions from the individual regions and doing something along those lines. I guess they'd have to find a central point to bring them all, or if they would just bring everyone to Japan or whatever the third FanFest is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but hopefully, I hope it happens more than once every 2 years. Also, because if it's a FanFest only thing, then it's a pretty long time between.
It's too inconsistent.
Yeah. Yearly is pretty good though, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have a question. I'm all about the whole origin story of a team or their members, and I wanted to go back and kind of get your take on how you got started in PvP. Did you start in Wolves Den when Feast came out? Did you really have an interest in it then, or did it take some time for you to kind of get into it, decide, hey, I really like PvP, I want to do this? Mateo, I'll start with you. What's your origin story in regards to PvP?
Sure, man. Thanks for asking. So for me,
so nice.
Canadians.
So for it kind of started out with the secure days. I was hooked. I played as a Marauder, and it was around, coincidentally, it was around the same time the Marauder was OP in PvE and PvP.
Yeah,
you guys remember that? Yeah. Straight shot, blood for blood, blah blah blah, all that. I think I even spec'd like Stone Skin just for the memes. Anyway, it was a while ago. So I was like, hey, this is cool. I went into PV. I think we were doing I don't think it was Twintania, but whatever. And then somebody said to me, hey, you know what? You should try Marauder in PvP. It's really cool. I'm like, all right, how do I do that? And then somebody mentioned Secure. And I went into Secure, and I had a lot of success with it. It was really cool. I didn't really play Wolves Den too much. It was called the Wolves Den. I think it's Fold, which is discontinued now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So absolutely, I had my start there. Then I took a bit of a break, and I came back for the Seal Rock days, which was also really, really exciting. So much fun. It was one of the modes where I just kept playing and playing and playing and playing, and I just never got bored of it, honestly. It was really enjoyable, like all the tactics, and I don't think classes were actually as OP at that point. It might have been, but not. No, I don't think so. Right? Yeah.
No.
So that was fun, and then I took another small break, and then came back for season 3 for the feast, and been kind of going hard since. Just enjoying that scene and doing my part in it and trying to help the community out with that. So yeah, that's my story.
Nice.
Okay.
Nikoza, what about you?
I think I would actually say my whole like MMO PvP experience started with WoW, and like I did a lot of it on there, like a disgusting amount of PvP on that game, and I did like all the all of it, like the arenas, the battlegrounds, and then I decided I want to try something different, something fresh, so I moved on to this game, and I've been playing it since the Reborn part, so 2.0 PvP. And I did the full and all that stuff, and it was definitely a lot different back then. Not the best, not the worst, but just kind of really different than it is now.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since then, I've been kind of just playing Wolves Den and the frontline stuff, Secure, Steel Rock. Probably my favorite was still Steel Rock, and then now I just kind of mostly dabble in scrims, light party. That's where my I'm not a big fan of solo queue. I'll still do it, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. But yeah, I generally I'm known as like kind of like the scrim guy, as I think Rini likes to point out everywhere. But
and now you get to point it out too.
Yeah, I know. I get to point it out to everybody. So yeah, I'm the scrim guy. So I like to organize the scrims and do more constructed PvP. And yeah, that's about it.
I'm just going to go ahead and agree with you and say for the fact that solos are the fucking devil.
I mean, I like solo queue. I do. It has its own merits to it. It does. I mean,
it has good days and bad days. Yeah, I'll agree.
Well, I mean, you're rolling a dice every time you get into a game, right? You never know what you're going to get. And your job is to make the best of whatever situation you get. And you're not going to be able to do that every time, but try and figure out how to be good at it and just have more success rate is kind of fun. You see these things that you wouldn't have seen otherwise.
Yeah.
Well, I'll extend that question to Frosty since we haven't let him speak much in this first little bit as we get accustomed to our new guest. I said you would go last. I didn't mean 2 hours from now.
Yeah, 2 hours from now. That's okay. No, I could just nod my head. What question do you want me to answer?
Well, I mean, we kind of never really asked what got you into PvP because you ended up becoming a commentator for this event. You were a shoutcaster.
Right.
And you brought a lot of knowledge with it. You play a lot of PvP, and when we bring you on, you're always talking about it to some degree if it's applicable to the topic of the show. So
even if it's not,
sometimes you just say, "Yeah, we're talking about 012. I can't wait to go do the feast after this. The show sucks. Let's talk about PvP." That's
wow, predictable scripted fights. Wow, great.
Yeah. See, easy.
No, like I honestly I remember when Slyh was in it too as well. Like we both were kind of excited for Feast when it first came out. We were like, man, we're going to get into it and be like, top dog. And I was playing Primal, I think, back then too.
You were.
Yeah, but I just didn't have the time to like commit to it. And after a while, I kind of fell behind. I was like, all right, well, I'll just stop after a bit. I never really got back into it. But like, I guess right before 4.x, the end of 3.x days, I started working with the community a little bit, just kind of playing and then trying to get top 100 and getting a feel for everything. It was fun to play Paladin sometimes in 3.x. It was fun. I had a good time doing it. And so I just started to talk to people in the community, try to get to know people. And then I think I kind of got addicted more to the community than I did the game itself. Getting to know people, like meeting people like Mateo and Nikoza and seeing their passion and their involvement. I kind of, I don't know, that's what did me in. It wasn't really that I went in and saw PvP was the best competitive mode in the world. I saw it as I'm joining this community and working with these people who I enjoy being around. Granted, there's still shitty people who I never want to talk to in the PvP community, but it's the same thing with every single community, whether it's PvP, PvE, Walgreens, wherever. There's people you just don't want to talk to, right? You're just going to avoid them because they suck. But
I want that quote on a shirt.
Okay. But I don't know. I just started working with them. I did an interview. Mateo actually did some shoutcasting too on the first Aether Cup, which was pretty big deal. before 4.x came out. And I did a little interview there, and I started working with them more, and then we started getting more into events, and just from there, that's all it was, just work with the community and playing.
Well, that's good, because you put a lot more into it. I did like a few hundred matches when the Feast first came out before Ranked joined, and I thought it was fun. As soon as they took away my ability to use my words, I was like, I'm not a fan of communicating with preset things. It's big for me.
We could talk about that too. We all have opinions on that now.
Yeah, we weren't shit talkers. We weren't the ones, telling you to fucking get good. I mean, this was more of a strategic thing. And when they took that away, I felt like, why?
See, Slyh, for me, it's not even that. Like, yeah, you ran into some bad apples. I met a lot of people who in those first 2 minutes when you were prepping, like, you didn't need 2 minutes to prep. So you got to know people sometimes in those 2 minutes. It was kind of like a short, like, calm before the storm and a little bit of a reprieve. And then after the game, assuming everyone was, I guess, on the friendlier side, sometimes it would lead to, just a quick conversation at the end. It was, I liked that. And then that's completely gone entirely. That was my experience a little bit more.
The one thing that scared me, though, it wasn't the people who actually spoke. It was the people who didn't say anything. Helen Keller right at the beginning of the match, like, okay, so what are we doing?
Oh, yeah.
Bro, you're going to, like, who are we focusing first? Great, 0. And then it just all falls apart.
It still happens. It still happens.
It's still, I mean, of course it happens. They can't use their words now.
Well, no. Like, they won't, like, work with that's a sign of people not working with you in the game, right?
Yeah.
Call those people Helen Kellers from now.
Yeah.
I will do. I don't know. We've had this conversation a lot. I think, right, Mateo, Nikoza, about Feast Chat and our feelings on that.
I was just gonna say, go ahead, Nick. Go say.
Okay. Well, basically, all I want to say is, like, I think in the matches now in Feast, I guess they're really fast paced, right? There's not much time to actually talk during the matches anymore. Like, if you were to stand there and start typing, you're dead. You can't do it anymore. But I do agree that the starting area should have been. You should be able to talk in there. So you should be able to strategize. You should be able to communicate with your team. Say, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to start on the healer and then switch to the melee. And then once those gates open, then that gets deactivated, and then you use the quick chat to communicate with your team.
I think that's a good medium. I like that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Like, we actually did a customs match not too long ago where some individuals were just not on voice. And the expectation was there that we were going to, like talk shop. We're going to talk strats throughout the match. But no, we said what we needed to say in the opening scene. And then afterwards, it was just not possible. Like, there's like pressing a button that says fall back instead of typing. It was just a lot more efficient in that sense. No matter how laggy the button may be at times, right? But like Nick said, it's just way too fast. But you can't. There's no reprieve from the actual fighting. It's always something going on. So. No. Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of people will actually say that at first they were pretty upset about it. They hated it. But now looking back, they're like, we kind of need it taken away. There's some people out there that if they see you're in a match with them, they're like, oh, fuck, we already lost. You suck. Da, da, da. And that's what they'll say every single time you join a match with them. Now they just say, nice job, and put a no sign over your head. So it's not really that much different. It just censors them to a degree, right? But I think everybody's gotten used to it by now, and we've just kind of accepted this is how it is. There's ways to communicate. We have these systems that you figure out. You have attacking so-and-so now. You have all these different ways to talk to people. You just have to use it. And it's not too hard. I think most people are over it.
I just know that for me, I always just needed to go into every match and be like, all right, listen. They're going to try to kill me regardless of what they were going to do beforehand. And I need to be able to tell you that because...
I mean, you don't have to say it, man. We know. We know. I mean, after you get to a certain point, like on the ladder, you're not with people you don't know, right? You're with people people who understand exactly the other players and what's going to happen, and they have an idea what will actually happen when they get out there and start fighting. Well, I mean, I say that. Sometimes it's not that way, but it's a lot different than early on unranked, because unranked you don't know anything that's going to happen. The guy could stand there and cast Cure 1 the entire time, and you're like,
Well, that's like my early feast. I saw some people that
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we just know now. We know to follow a countdown. We know to... I say that, but there's still people who don't do it. I don't think having chat would fix it, but yeah.
It's kind of interesting too, if you take some players that have never voiced while playing the feast, while playing PvP, they're actually not going to be as efficient as they would be if they were using their quick chat macros.
No.
Quick chat functions. I mean, it's very fast paced now. It's a lot different than it was before. It was fast paced, don't get me wrong.
Well, 8 minutes, and then like you had a burst in 3.x, you had a burst every like minute, right?
Approximately, yeah.
Yeah.
You
now
could,
it's every 15 seconds.
Yes. So it was it's kind of hard to coordinate your thoughts while doing everything at the same time. So it's kind of like a different beast. So, like if people think the solution is, we'll just get a voice. Not necessarily sometimes, because it's hard to articulate what you really want to do. It's like, hey, okay, let's go melee, let's go heal, let's go. Okay, well, you're dead. So sometimes it's kind of like a lifeline with those quick chat macros. The only my only, well, I shouldn't say only, but my personal grievance with them is that they do lag a little bit. So you can't tap it and be like, okay, everyone attack. Oh no, wait, go back. That's a bad opportunity.
Right.
It lags a slight amount, right? So I think it's meant for just spam protection in a way, because of that. But generally speaking, like it's hard for people to organize their thoughts when they're actually saying it on voice. So back in 3.x, people made macros and things like that instead of these quick chat macros. So it'd be like spamming fallback like a million times, you know what I mean, or something like that. So it was how far you wanted to take it, really. Whereas now everyone's kind of on the same wavelength when it comes to that. So
right,
communication wise, anyway.
Yeah. Chat brought up that when I said burst every 15 seconds, or when you said that my eyes lit up. No, I just started thinking about, because I play Monk, and so if I were to play Monk in PvP, I know what those 15 seconds look like, and it's terrible. Not a fan of what those 15 seconds feel like.
Monks, they have the nickname of being able to travel through time. That's their thing, right? Their tornado kicks and everything. The way it registers is just like that half a second later than most abilities. And so they have cover up. They have all these things that are up there, but it just goes through that because it's just in this line of registering all that damage. But I think they're every 30 seconds. Is that right, Monk?
Well, I played a little bit differently. You can burst very, very often if you wanted to. If for example, if you're in Enliven, which is the TP ability and a TP trait, you can really try to go fast.
I'd imagine that's literally form shift, get 5 stats, and then go crazy.
Pretty much.
Yeah. That's what I don't like. I'm just like, well, I'm just gonna form shift until I can get in there to burst, and then T kick. I'm like, I'm not doing this. This isn't fun to me.
It's a little janky.
Yeah, not a fan personally. That's one thing, because that was always kind of a thing. Like I did Ninja in 3.x for PvP, and that was its own beast because of trick attack in PvP in 3.x. Yeah, that was not fun.
I don't remember a lot of ninjas back then. No,
there was a good reason.
They would get the medals in stealth. That was the thing.
Yeah, you'd pick up medals in stealth, and that was the stupid cheese thing you could do. That was what I was good at. But and then I came into this expansion as Monk, and it's like I keep picking the jobs that are just not pleasant to play in PvP, and I can't find one that I really enjoy.
Look, the jobs don't have a lot of actions to learn.
No, I know now. I haven't tried Ninja in 4.x.
Yeah, okay.
So that's to be fair. Ninja in 3.x I was really good. I could burst on. I could come out of stealth, trick attack, like what's it called? Whatever. You could just pump everything out. I can murder anyone, but I didn't enjoy it. It took one bard to reveal me, and I was done. Pretty much. Oh man. And how much? I don't know. Like I see the metas, because that was the one thing I was trying to absorb the most out of the FRCs was like people playing Black Mage, people playing Samurai, seeing the Bard Dragoon synergy, which tanks were people taking, which healers were people taking. I never saw a single job I wanted to play on.
Hey man, they're fun. Black Mage, Mateo can speak on that. It's a lot of fun if you get good at it. It's pretty powerful. I don't know. It's just hard for me to say like. I mean, I know I classify myself as like a paladin or white mage, but I mean, Mateo, you play every job except for healers, I think. And it's just, you don't think about it. It's like playing a different hero in a MOBA, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, you didn't see my healer, Frosty?
Oh, no.
Oh, you didn't see my healer? No, I'm joking, man.
I want to see it. I want to queue up against
offended.
this.
You won't see my. You need some points or something? Which training confirmed?
Oh,
No,
Oh,
I
God.
mean, you know, when you say it like that, there is a lot of diversity, I guess you could say, with the different jobs that you pick, and there's a different dynamic and a different way to play it. Definitely, you know, if we're talking about black mage, you're essentially a glass cannon. You know, I mean, you just got to be mindful of your positioning and everything like that. Just try not to get LOS. So there's that mind game, that meta game that's going on in your head and your team's positioning, how you place around it. But when it comes to the FRC, I think Nick can even say more about it. But there are quote unquote safe picks. Do you know what I mean? There's really there's some choices that are just like, if you played, like, I don't know, Overwatch, right? It's like, okay, there's a meta comp, there's a dive comp, blah blah blah. You're kind of going with what's good for the situation, and the compositions that we took were kind of like a Swiss Army knife of compositions, and that's kind of how we approached them. And we could have probably, you know, changed a lot of the jobs, and it still would have got a favorable effect to them. But we just kind of wanted to be safe, and we went with what we were comfortable. But like, Ninja could have worked. We have one of the best ninjas in our team, and it could have worked for sure.
Yeah, there's definitely like a synergy between certain jobs. And
Synergy
so
6, right?
And there's 6 of
I haven't
them.
heard that before. But I think there is, like, each job is kind of unique, even though it's pretty limiting right now in terms of, you know, amount of actions, which we're actually, like, you know, pushing for more. But each job is still kind of unique in a sense, and there are certain, like, for example, like, just to give an example to people, so Warrior Bard is one of the things that we decided to go with, and we just felt like that's a really powerful comp because Warrior can stun and the Bard can silence, right? There's no kind of like overlap there. They're two completely different crowd controls, and the Warrior kind of sets up the kill for the Bard, and, you know, puts that Butcher's block, and then the Bard can just constantly be bursting those targets. So those two jobs work well together. Or we kind of felt like maybe a Paladin and a Black Mage may work together well, because, as Mateo mentioned earlier, a Black Mage is a little bit squishy. It could be potentially, you know, can be potentially blown up. So a Paladin can kind of be there to cover them when they need it, or actually with the CC chains, you know, stun off the sleeps that they provide, or silence off the sleeps and then into a stun. So there's a lot of neat combinations that you can do in PvP, even though it's still kind of like limited right now. It's still, you know, fun in that sense.
This is all, I'm just taking it in.
Absorb it, man.
I'm just absorbing.
Yeah.
Because I want to do it more. I also am not a fan of Rival Wings, to be honest.
Well, it's gotten better, right, guys? I haven't played it in a while, but I know there's like people doing it like every Saturday. They get up to do it. Rival Wings has gotten better.
We can talk about that too.
Okay.
Well, we want to cover as much PvP in general here from the experts, so I'm just moving through thoughts at this point.
Okay.
One of the strategies that, because we play with our friends, generally speaking. So one of our friends is actually really good at controlling the Brute Justice. So it's just kind of like, all right, well, give Jay the Brute Justice, and we'll just kind of win the game. And it usually works. So I don't even know much more about Rival Wings than that. Just get the thing, pick up the Ceruleum, whatever. And but there's a lot of events for it, actually. For Friday and Saturday, I believe. In the evenings, there's Rival Wings events. I think there's a Discord for it as well.
Yeah,
and it's active in that regard.
Yeah, but I mean, you just have to do it during the event, right? You have to focus the time there. And I mean, that's the other thing about the community is that they love doing this stuff. It's not like, hey, the queues never pop. How do we handle that? How do we fix a solution for doing something that we want to do? Well, let's organize together and find times that we can do it. And that doesn't really work in Feast, but I mean, it works in like other things like front lines and stuff that people want to do. And man, it's going to be a mess in the data center edition. I mean, go ahead.
Oh, I'm talking about like frontline in general. And I've mentioned this on your show too, Frosty. But for people who haven't heard, I I kind of feel like that the front line should be smaller, and they should kind of introduce game modes that are more familiar with people.
Capture the flag.
Like capture the flag.
Yeah.
Like I've been asking for that since like 2.0. Like it's
So has he.
yeah. Like I know Mr. Happy's probably familiar with Warsong Gulch. Like,
Warsong Gulch, Arathi Basin, like
Mhm.
any of those.
Those modes have been so successful in WoW, and I know some people don't like WoW, but just those modes in that game though have been really successful, and they're people know exactly what to do, right? And capture the flag. You go in, get the flag, and bring it back. And I think those simple modes are a much better way to approach frontline. Whereas when you go into Rival Wings, you're just like, what the hell is this? Like you have to go through these lanes, and then you have to control robots. You're getting one shot by this giant like beast, and you're not sure what's going on, right? It's too complex. So keep the game mode simple, I think, and make maybe jobs a little bit more interesting. Is what I always.
I just want something that's 8v8 and not 24v24.
I mean, they should probably focus on like 8v8 stuff for now, because they don't have any good 8v8 game modes except for 8v8v8, right?
Yeah, and that's and that's not even on purpose. That's just when there's not enough people, it settles for that. So.
So we should see that. I think you would get more people interested in doing PvP, because you can control that too. The less people you have like in a match, the more your effect matters, right?
Definitely.
I think that's why they have such large scale, because people who are afraid of PvPing, their lack of effort doesn't matter. Yeah, it's like
they should have one really big one smaller scale one, and then Feast, and then we're you got a nice little tier list. You can just go down.
You know what? Maybe it's an unpopular opinion. I'm not sure, but I thought in 3.x 8v8 was like the Feast. 8v8 was such a chaos, but it was actually pretty fun. It was like a casual, like, hey, jump in with a friend, whatever happens kind of thing, and it was chaotic fun. The objective was like, all right, kill these dudes, pick up their money, kind of thing. Like I don't know, I thought it was pretty fun. Like if I have like 10 minutes per night or something, I'm home from work, I'll just jump into that.
Right.
Like I said, it might be an unpopular opinion. I'm not sure.
I don't agree.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
I mean, 8v8 was one of those things that was just a big clusterfuck of people trying to kill each other and saying,
oh man, that sounds so much different than all my other PvP. It's like,
but I mean, the other thing is that it was giving, people did Feast. It was the place that people could go and get Feast achievements, I guess, without doing something that was actually serious, which was the 4v4, right? And so that was the only thing that it really had, is it kept maybe bots, and it kept maybe like other people who just didn't really care about Feast a place to go and be stupid and leave everyone else kind of off to the side. But then again, I'm okay with having stupid people in the Feast because it's more queues for me. So I don't know. I'd rather just play it and not play at all. I felt like it took away from the regular Feast queues by having it. So
what do you mean, man? We're just in there to snipe Mr. Happy. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
Listen,
Happy we
you
know.
don't understand how bad
there he
was.
Let me post it on YouTube.
Sure. Especially when I'm live streaming. When I was live streaming, it was the worst. It was so many people would be like, before the match begins, I just get a message, hey, you're fucking dead.
Now, see, I never got the messages, but I always got fucking focused. That was the only thing.
Yeah.
Like, I would be the first one to get focused, and that was it.
I got
Mr. Happy was actually like literally in stealth, and he would still get focused. Like they would know exactly where he is.
Yeah, because they would just find me. They'd be like, oh, well, he's playing
Focus
ninja, so... the bards would literally just look where I was and then go to that spot and reveal me. I'd be like, well... I mean, I get it. I'm being an asshole with these medals, but come on now.
Holding 400 medals.
10 stack running around.
No,
I think that was actually one of the things. Like we would get into Feast and we're like, how long can you hold on to 10 stacks in 8v8? And that was like the goal for a lot of people who were jumping in there, who are familiar with Feast at least.
Pretty much.
Like 5 stacks, I'm pissing my pants, and I'm like, why the fuck do I have 5 stacks? Like,
Money on the ground, man.
It's money. You got to pick it up, dude.
Y'all are leaving money on the ground. Why the fuck are you leaving this money? It's about to disappear. Are we going to let this shit go?
Yeah, sometimes you got to strategically let the money run out, because so you picking up the money is going to get you killed. Like, you don't know. There's times where that could happen.
Not in 8v8, but in 4v4.
Oh, yeah, not in 8v8. No.
No. God,
Who
no.
cared about 8v8, whether or not you won or lost? Like, it's just it. They had to cap homes, man. You're there for, as Sly calls it, he calls anyone who queues in the PvP just for tomes. What do you call it, Sly?
Free chicken.
There you go.
Oh my god.
For the free chicken.
Hey, but maybe I'm on the team with the person that's trying to get the free chicken, and so I'm not really getting the chicken I want. I'm getting this like tasteless chicken when I want to get the really supreme chicken that I would get if I was on the other side.
Dude, they're here for McDonald's chicken tenders. You're here for Nashville hot chicken. That's what I'm getting right now.
Good, man.
Oh my goodness.
Now, don't get me wrong. I've done free chicken before, like a lot of times when I'm doing fucking dailies and shit. And I'm like, I'm just here for my daily. I'll try.
Yeah,
I'll
but
try.
they won't. That's what makes the difference between being there for the free chicken. You're there for the chicken. They want the free chicken. There's a difference.
Well, I mean, here's the other thing. So you're doing something like if you go into a dungeon, like an expert right now, do you go in there and you're like, oh, I'm not going to try. I'm just going to click one button and I'm just there to get the tomes at the end?
I mean, no, we're not going to click one button. It's become monotonous enough to the point that we can do that shit in our sleep and not even give a fuck if we die.
But you still want to do well, right? You still want to say, hey.
You want to do well, but it's not raid. It's not like it's not like
right, it's not
going to matter.
I mean, I'll pop pots on bosses and dungeons. I don't give a shit. I'm trying to blow shit up.
So, I mean, the difference is when people queue into daily like PvP stuff, they're not going to try, right? They're just going to say, I don't understand this. I'm not enjoying it. I'm forced to be here. I'm just going to get the reward.
I'll give you the perfect example of kind of incentivized like PvP. Like happy just be shit on all the time. Shatter.
Don't talk about
remember the Garo event when I think one of the horses you had to do shatter and win? Or it was another mount, I forget. But
no. That's the achievements. It was you had to do. I think it was one was feast, one was front lines, and then there was combined wins between the two for the achievements.
Correct.
I kind of guess I got Stockholm syndrome and ended up liking shatter. Unpopular opinion. Go ahead.
No, I mean you're definitely enjoying something that's the worst PvP mode that we have. But I mean, it's not like I can take offense to it. You can enjoy doing whatever you want to do. If you like going to the bathroom and slapping yourself in the face, what am I going to do? Stop slapping yourself?
I hope you mean with his own hand. I don't know why he went to the bathroom for that, but
he wants to look at the mirror. I don't know. It's like some kind of weird.
You got really. There was a lot of context missing with that analogy. There was a lot of context missing with that analogy.
Okay.
I think Shadow was popping the most too, actually. Like Shadow was the last mode that was introduced and people did not get their mounts just yet. So it was like the one that you're exposed to the most, really. And I feel like it's just popping just off the chain a lot.
The only thing I like about Shatter is that the people who are there for the free chicken, when they're attacking the ice, you just instantly KO them because they're just
pretty much
blanked.
You don't
just
like that?
I was just hitting the ice. Why'd that guy kill me?
You don't like that, you said?
No, that's the one thing I do like.
Oh, you do? Okay.
That's the only thing I do like is you can pick on the free chicken. You can find free chicken people and you can roast them. That's it.
Or when they're jumping off the cliffs. And
that's the best. You put a dot.
Just pick them
or knock them off the cliffs or anything. Yeah. You're like, I'm so safe here.
The machinist who just kind of sits on like the little bridge part and just hangs out waiting for people. He doesn't do anything else. He's just waiting for someone to try to cross. Oh, that's the best.
How'd you know? No, I'm kidding.
I know, yeah. I mean, who doesn't play machinist in front lines, dude? Everybody.
Is that a meme or?
No, I mean, machinist is like probably the best job I think to play. Isn't it? Right?
It's more like if you play melee, you're not in for a good time. You might as well just play like a ranged DPS if you want to play DPS.
Yeah,
that's why I kind of think that's why like maybe smaller battlegrounds would be better because a melee jumps into a group of 24 people, they're going to die instantly, right? But in an 8v8 scenario, a melee can actually go in and be, not killed instantly. And I think going back on the whole like the modes, I think the rewards are there, to give incentive to people to queue them. But I think that I don't know if that's the right approach. I think the approach should be, can we make something engaging and fun first? Make a mode that's actually engaging and fun where people will want to queue to actually enjoy it and have fun. over just having to like make it a chore, having to queue to get this hairstyle that they want, right?
Right.
So I think they should look at that as their design decision first, over just kind of like throwing rewards in there and making people queue something they don't want to do. You know,
and I think it comes down to the mode itself being fun. I mean, PvP to me is fun, it's enjoyable, but I mean, like when you go into these frontline matches and everything, people don't enjoy complicated robot fights. We thought we would, right? But
I didn't.
Kind of good on paper.
See,
yeah.
I was always of the opinion that the player needs to have the most impact. And yes, there's a player in the robot, but what you know about PvP goes out the window when there's a big ass robot in front.
That's well said.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think going into things like 8v8, capture the flag, and enforcing like maybe, well, I guess you don't have to force like a comp. You could probably let it be open comps and everything. But I mean, tanks would have a good situation in that because they can control people who are around trying to do stuff in the match, stun, cover the guy with the flag, things like that.
Or
and
beat
then
the flag carriers, yeah.
Yeah, beat the flag carriers, hold ground, run. There's things that DPS can do. They can focus on just killing people, and they could have a Zerg kind of thing happening. And healers are definitely more valuable because they keep everyone alive. But I mean, they have to do it to where it's not broken to where you just run with 24 healers and you win. Like I think is kind of what happened with Rival Wings.
Yeah, because you just hold mid. They had to keep nerfing mid control because you just have a full 8 healers go and get there first, and that's it.
That's the only reason why they probably might want to force some sort of comp control is because you might run into those scenarios again. But other than that, I mean, yeah, just make it to where people are like, yeah, I'm going to get in here and I'm going to win a whole bunch and I'm going to have fun and I'm going to try and I understand. I'm going to figure out what the strategy is to win. And then maybe they'll move on to Feast. Feast is always like the competitive, like serious area that people need to move on to, but you need like a mode that brings people in before you get into the Feast, I think.
Sly, you look like you have something to say.
Yes. Because we kind of have Hall of the Novice within, PvP. Do you think something like that would work or would be useful for PvP as well for people who want to get into?
Oh, what do you guys think?
Go ahead, Nick.
Just deflect down the list. Just deflect down the list.
Go ahead, Nick.
So like a Hall of the Novice kind of thing, like a tutorial for PvP?
Yeah, for PvP.
Hall of the Cub.
Yeah, I think it might be a good way to kind of explain what the medal system is and how it works, because I think a lot of new players have like zero idea. Like there's a little mini thing that pops up on your screen that tells you kind of like, okay, these are medals, blah, blah, blah. But a lot of people obviously don't want to take the time to read all that stuff. No one wants to like look at like a 5-minute video either. Like even though Frosty made a really nice one.
Yeah, shut up.
Like he made a nice one, but a lot of people like in general, like a casual might not want to just kind of like, they just want to queue and play. And so maybe a tutorial system might be okay. There were ideas thrown around where you have a current PvP rank in the game right now that goes up to 50. And it's actually like completely useless. It doesn't do anything for you right now. It used to, but now it's garbage. It doesn't do anything. So some people threw around the idea where, okay, you have to be at least PvP rank 20 in order to queue for Feast. And that way people like have an idea of how their job works. And you can get that rank by doing front lines. But here's a problem, like front lines sometimes doesn't always pop either, because it's trying to queue 72 people a lot of the time, and that stuff is just not going to pop sometimes. So that's why I go back on my point to where I think there should really be small battlegrounds or small front lines. I say battlegrounds a lot, I'm sorry, but a lot of front lines.
I do the same thing.
Yeah, there should be small front lines that are always queuing, they're always popping rather, and it's just a 1v1, not 3 teams, but just 2 teams. And that way people can dip their feet into PvP and get a feel for how their job works.
Well, I mean, they have the roulette. I think that's kind of the thing that it makes it pop, right? If you do the front lines roulette or whatever, like you get a pretty quick pop from that, don't you? I haven't done it in forever, so I really don't.
I don't know if it's the best system. Because a lot of the time too, you're not really sure if you're doing anything when you're with 24 other people and you're just following like, know, a bunch of, you're following a group, and a lot of the time, unfortunately, those people might be bots or something. And so I don't know if it's the best way to to actually like dip your feet into PvP. But yeah, I think if they were to do some kind of tutorial, that might be a good way to at least explain the feast rules. Like maybe have them kill an NPC, the NPC drops some medals, and then you walk over to them.
You're like, don't pick them up if you're this.
Yeah, like there is a meta too that people have to understand, which is unfortunate because that's not in the description anywhere, right? But there is a meta to where the tank has to pick up the first medals, and then after that the range does it, and then after that the melee, and then the healer. But that's not anywhere in the Final Fantasy website. That's not anywhere in Wolves.
It shouldn't be though. I don't think that should.
I kind of feel like it's a thing that you should pick up on your own.
When we get into meta, that's stuff that you need to pick up. That's stuff that I mean, general things like, hey, you should heal people because you're a healer. Sure, they can say that, but when you start getting into like the tactics and how they should organize medals and everything else, this stuff can change. That's the only thing. I mean, you don't think it will, but I mean, like it could, right? Anything that's meta that the players decide is the best thing probably shouldn't be mentioned, but obvious things, I think. I don't know. That's my only...
That's only because if the players ever change their mind, it's not going to be on the developers to suddenly change whatever's in the tutorial.
Right. I mean, and that's the only thing with having that one tutorial too, is because once they create that and then they're like, you know what, we want things to spawn at a different time. They change PvP, or I don't think
they need to explain exactly the time things. They need to explain what the objective is and why you want it. I don't think they need to explain it spawns at exactly these times on the map.
Like stuff like retreating with a medal lead near the end of a match. I feel like that.
There's just some common sense things, like what a medal is, what a wolf's heart is. You know, things like that.
I just think this wouldn't be an issue at all if they just, like I mentioned earlier, just make a game mode that people are familiar with. That way they don't have to like worry about all this medal stuff and have to figure out what all these like metas are and stuff. Just
like Blitzball.
Sure, I don't know. But
great fucking face right now. It's precious, right?
I mean, we all play Final Fantasy X. I mean, we understand how that works. I mean, you're just adding a ball in there. You could just PvP and throw balls and be underwater. I mean, what's the...
Aren't they actually introducing that later?
I'm so glad you're on the show today, Frosty. Thank you for this moment.
I muted him in case you haven't figured it out.
Oh, you did? Oh, nice.
Oh, wow.
Savagery.
You're back.
All right. Maybe I did that to bait you a little bit. I admit. So,
well,
all right, continue. Sorry.
Go ahead, Nick. Go ahead.
No, that's basically it. I don't know. Just if they were to take PvP a step further from here, just make the game mode not so complicated, and just make the jobs more complex. That's what I say that so many times. I'm sorry, but I really do think that's the direction that the game needs to go.
Okay.
When it comes to like the medals, right? Like you have the tiers in PvP and the fees. It goes from like unranked to diamond, and you can bet your ass in the first 3 tiers. You go unranked, bronze, silver. You're gonna get the players that they either there's 2 different players. They either pick everything up, money on the ground, or they just stay away from it like it's a plague. So it's really hard to kind of like balance around that because there's quick chats, get the medals, or I'm getting the medals. But a lot of the time, like if you're a new player, you're just overwhelmed by the actual fighting that you're not able to focus on the mechanics of the game mode. So they're like, all right, well, I killed this guy. Okay, cool. Okay, the medals just respawn. Why am I in the lead? I killed this guy, right? So I don't know if they just don't read the foundation
most of the time, yeah.
Or if it's hard to understand. That's where I'm at right now, because sometimes even in higher level matches, right, like gold to diamond, maybe that does occur as well. It's like, oh, you're grabbing medals when you shouldn't be good, So right. There's a big meta around medals at times, but it is common sense most of the time, generally speaking.
I mean, you don't start seeing people make sense of how the medals work and confident with that's going to be most matches until you hit like gold. I mean, you'll get some of that in silver when you get into those silver gold matches, but once you hit gold, you're kind of like, most people have been around enough to figure out some things. The rest of it's just like, I hope I don't get someone who just never played this mode and is really just going to just look around at the pretty colors and stuff, and that's what they're there for, and they never play again. And you get that often in the unranked to silver modes, but I mean, that's what it is.
See, I think it's kind of like what Nick said. It's kind of like just maybe simplify the game mode and just introduce a little bit more complexity into the jobs, where it's like, all right, we don't have to think too much about the game mode. We can think more about the mechanics of how to execute what we need to execute, right? Because personally, I think it should be self-explanatory the moment that you jump into it. Be like, all right, you're a tank, you have the most HP, you're pretty defenses, you're going to grab the first medals. But it might not be the case. You know what I mean? Like, that might not be the case. And then the range grabbing the second medals is kind of a weird one. That's definitely like a player-made meta, because they're so far away, you kind of forcing the team out of position to get to you, right? So that's something that's a little bit more out of the box. But I think it's important that people do kind of do a little bit more research into it. It's unfortunate that the game mode is not as self-explanatory as it could be.
Right.
So,
I like this comment in chat. I asked questions when I first jumped into the feast. Too bad I can't do that now when I do it at the start of a match.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's sad. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing that we lost with that. But also, I want to say the toxicity is gone. It's not. It
can never be.
No, it did.
It's an online game.
And
Neopets has toxic people.
Right. I mean, in all honesty,
Club Penguin.
To what I prefer to happen is chat still be there. And if people call you and they harass you and they talk crap to you, that's the GM's job, right? It's not your job to deal with that. They can report harassment and be done with it. And then people will eventually stop doing that. And I think just removing it completely like that, it does seem weird. I wish they got a different solution, but again, like I said, most of the veteran players are kind of used to it by now, but the new players, like you said, are kind of left out. They go in there and then they have no communication unless they join a Discord, or if they join something where other PvPers are, to tell them, hey, you suck, and get it over with, right?
Nice. I mean, you're not wrong. But
when I first played PvP, and it was like I got in the feast, I get into matches, I join a Discord. I was told I was the worst person in the world and I should probably just quit playing Feast, and that I was horrible. I was like, okay, queue up next match. And that's what it was. And then until it stopped happening as much. And it's always one or two people who do that. But I don't know.
There really is one or two bad apples that give the entire community a bad name. I mean, sure, people get heated.
The loudest ones.
They really are. They're like the village idiots. I mean, honestly.
I mean, there's a handful of
Please
village
no
idiots.
name dropping on the show.
No.
The most depressing thing, though, in that regard, is that I see some of the most toxicity come out of new players.
Correct.
So what happens is that
they understand the least, so they need to be like, they need to be the loudest to make it seem like they're not idiots, but then you are idiots.
We have people who are actually dedicated to a match, and they're like, I know this person's new. I know he's new. He doesn't know what's going on. I'm going to message him and say as nicely as possible, hey, look, you're new. Let me try to help out. And they're like, you're an idiot. Fuck you, dude. Fuck you. It's your fault we lost. And that was the end of it. And then what happens, though, is that also happens, that evolves into a new player dynamic. So we have two new players who start up. The new player feels the urge to message one of the other new players and tell them they suck. And then they're like, hey, the PvP community is stupid and horrible and toxic, and then they never play again. Because some other new player who was horrible at the game told him he sucked. And it's not the PvP community, it's just some random asshole. And that's what it is.
It's kind of funny you should mention that, because at the upper echelons of competitive gameplay of PvP and the feast and stuff like that, like as the FRC came together and all the teams came together, we were honestly like a family. Like there was zero bad mouth calling or anything like that. We were just giving hugs left and right. We were just, bro hugs and high fives and everything like that. It was pretty gay, but
okay.
I'm teasing. It was awesome. You know what I mean? That's kind of where we are as a community. You know what I mean? Like when you look at, like you said, Frosty, the newer players that are just like overwhelmed by everything like that, and they're letting their emotions get the best of them and everything like that. Mm-hmm. Those are the ones that are honestly, they're spitting a lot of fire that they should not be spitting. Like
yeah,
a lot of the veteran PvP players are actually very humble and they're very nice, and they will offer general advice. Like they may, like, you know what I mean, some people may be like, okay, they might snap at you like, why'd you do that, why didn't you use limit break? you might know who I'm talking about. For us, why didn't you use limit break, right? But then they'll be like, okay, it's cool.
I know a few people.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Moving forward, it's probably a good idea to do this. So that's usually how somebody that's calm and collected and essentially, recognizing the community will actually approach you instead of telling you to, I don't know, take your pick, right? But yeah.
Well, I mean, one of the funniest things. Sorry.
No, it was a joke. Don't worry.
Oh, okay. One of the biggest issues I think with a lot of the FRC teams is that they were having to deal with making their friends lose. And so you have a lot of people on stage fighting each other, but these guys are all friends. And so they're like, they know each other for years, they've been part of the community, but they're on stage to make them not win something that they would want to win. And so I think a lot of players actually had the issue of dealing with that as well as one of the problems with, I guess one of the challenges of playing on stage with everybody, because at the end you feel good that you won, but you feel bad that your friend that you've known for years is now out because you beat him. And so it's weird. Did you guys feel like that at all?
I really wanted to beat Sir really badly. So I don't know. Okay. I wanted to kick his ass.
Sometimes when you're friends with someone, you really want to have something to.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
No. It's kind of true. Like we're all friends. We kind of feel bad in the end because we knocked the team out. But it was good to see that like all the teams were still really like cool in the end. Mm-hmm. Everyone had a good time even after that. But if you guys were wondering which one was Sir, he was the one that was yelling "Go, go, 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 go" and screaming at the top of his lungs the entire FRC.
You could probably hear that better than us because I heard you and +1 over pretty much everything.
Oh, okay.
I heard Sir.
You were sitting in the front though. I was sitting further back.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, ultimately, it is a competition. You are there to be competitive, but
right.
you got some friendships. At least you didn't break any friendships along the way. I'm trying to remember the name of. There was a team there that I can't remember if it was the team you guys went up against. Which team did you guys go up against in the semi?
Trash Tears.
Trash Tears.
So I ran into Trash Tears the day before, and all they kept saying was how you guys are gonna win. You guys, Synergy said they were just like yeah, it's not looking good the whole time. They were just talking to you guys. Oh, that's the thing. They weren't like trash talking. They were just talking about how good the other team was. And how like it was going to be a tough match. Like they were super respectful, like even when they weren't like obligated to be on stage, and that shows a real degree of respect and
definitely,
yeah. So
camaraderie. Yeah.
that was my first thought. I was expecting, this team 12 Trash Tears, they're going to be like those guys.
They don't deserve to be here. I hate them. Yeah, no, everybody loves each other. I mean, again, like Mateo said, we're all pretty much family.
Yeah, someone said that you guys ate at the hash house before the matches that day or something. You had breakfast together.
Bought like one plate and shared it among 4 people.
So those are some pretty big dudes. You got those waffles with the chicken. Oh man.
That was ridiculous. This was like my lunch, breakfast, dinner. Like that thing was, it was pretty monstrous.
It's not going to be there anymore, guys. It's going away.
I mean, there's others.
There's one at the Paris.
There's one at the There's one by the Paris. Yeah. I don't think it was at the Paris. I think it was by like a hotel over. I remember having to walk over to it. We had to walk past Secret Pizza, I think.
Yeah.
Good old Secret Pizza. Oh, man. But yeah, I mean, overall, the FRCs, I don't know. I wasn't sure what the, I guess, room response was going to be to the FRCs because, I mean, we've already talked about it quite a bit on the show that there's a lot of people who don't necessarily respect PvP. I'm definitely one who doesn't understand it and doesn't ever give it the time of day. We've had plenty of PvP memes
I think that's true.
Would you rather me lie through my teeth and be like, no, I've always loved it?
No, I want you to be honest so I can spite you legitimately.
But when I was in that room, as the matches, were going, I just constantly looked around and I would watch as people would filter in and it got louder and louder. And then the finals all going all the way to game 5. And everyone around who maybe didn't think about it much seemed to be into it.
Right.
Agreed.
And that's what I think these FRCs probably need to accomplish. I'm just wondering if you guys have any ideas for them to keep that momentum going. Because 3 FRCs, those are said and done.
So that's actually one of the my biggest questions. I think a lot of the community wants to know, especially in North America right now, is what's next. I think we know they're focusing completely on the FRC and finishing it all out, and it feels weird how it's all paced out because I mean the semifinals was in September, right? The people who qualify for these FRC events, but the Japanese, the JP side of the FRC doesn't happen until March. And so this team had to stay together with nothing really to do as a team besides just community scrims every once in a while and whatever we can throw together for 6 months until they actually have their event. The pacing feels off because we had all 3 events at once. Then we had this huge separation here. And so it feels, I don't know, it just feels awkward. I wish they could have done this. I know they wanted to make it highlights at each fan fest, but I wish they could have done it in a way that felt like it all led up together.
Yeah, I kind of think oh, sorry, go ahead, Sly.
Oh no, go ahead.
Oh, I kind of feel like the pacing was a little weird. I think the NA one should have been done with the preliminaries first and not even touch the EU and JP preliminaries. And then once it was actually closer to their fan fest, then start doing the preliminaries for those regions. Mm-hmm. And then that way, like, you know, teams actually like, you know, stay together and you know, they're still interested because, you know, 6 months from now, who knows what's going to happen by then, right? Mm-hmm. And I think there has been maybe like 1 or 2 JP teams that had to like drop out, so they had to like get another team or 2. So I think the structure should have been a little bit differently. But then again, this is their first time doing this, so we were kind of like their guinea pigs in a sense. And I think with each FRC, like the EU one and the JP one, I'm sure those might be even bigger, since they kind of now know, okay, this was the NA one. This is what worked really well. This is what didn't really work. So we can only improve, you know, from there. But I definitely agree, Frosty. There is like a big, you know, what's next? You know, also for us too. Like, so NA finished, and so now what do we do, right? So like, all we have right now is, you know, solo queue and rival wings if we want to do that. But and that's why I kind of like say, okay, well, you know, we can have our FRC have, you know, finished, but, you know, give us something to do still with Light Party, because there's still a lot of people interested. And I noticed, like, as you mentioned, that audience was pretty filled towards the end. Like, even with our headsets on while we were playing, we could hear the audience every time we get a kill. We could hear even though our headsets were loud, we could still hear the audience going crazy. So I think there's interest there. I think Square should have like maybe taken that interest and allowed people to actually like, you know, give it a shot as well. I know there's people that want to form teams and play together, and they don't really have a way to do that right now. There's a way to queue Light Party, but there's no active season, so there's no one queues for it. Mm-hmm. So and something that I wanted to touch upon earlier is I think that also reduces the intimidation factor of it if you can actually queue with a friend or queue with a group of friends, because a lot of people don't want to just queue by themselves and solo queue. It's pretty intimidating for a lot of people, especially if they're afraid that they're going to get, you know, shit talked or something after the match. They don't. But if you're with a friend or if you're with the team, you don't really care. Like, you're having fun. Mm-hmm. And so they should have definitely like not ended Light Party support. Like, have it, you know, keep it going, right? Don't stop.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
I mean, that's one of the things Yoshida said, though, is that, like, which kind of took me for, I guess it wasn't too big of a surprise when we were at the media conferences. I was wondering to know what's next, and they're like, we aren't thinking about anything until the end of FRC. And
that's weird, because there was a lot of planning that went into this. Like, there has been talk of, you know, pulling PvP to kind of like 14 PvP to kind of the esports stage, so to speak. And
I would love that. It would make me feel great. If we
it would be great, but putting on a few tournaments is not the equivalent of getting it there, you know.
No, it's not. It would help. I mean, I would be amenable to, you know, doing some, you know, something like an LCS or whatnot. You know, I like events like PAX and whatnot. You know, keep it on people's mind, because when, like you said, you have 6 months until the actual event to do stuff on your own, that's what you have to do. You have to do stuff on your own. Whereas if you do stuff in between at events like a PAX or hell, E3, if you want, it's fresh on people's mind. It keeps you fresh in terms of, skill based and everything, actually having matches against people. And I feel like we need more of it if we want to get to that.
And right now it's falling on the shoulders of the community. And I gotta say, it's tough, man, because I don't have money to shell out for rewards. I don't have ways. It's tough. You gotta have to figure out how the community can come together and actually make it happen. And so we gotta go look for sponsors. We gotta go look for all this other stuff to make these events actually desirable. And then maybe we could get something going monthly, or maybe we could get something going to where we can keep people interested, but it would all be community controlled, unless if Square Enix takes the reins on it. But
just open up a cup every month, and whatever the prize is there, the winning team.
It's a lot of volunteer work, man.
I know it is. I'm not saying it's full of one person. I'm saying that's like the generalized solution that is not suited for one or two individuals.
I mean, but there has been thoughts of making it happen. I mean, I personally have had thoughts of, there's been the Aether League and stuff, which kind of had the season 2 kind of fell out a little bit there. But hopefully maybe at the beginning of next year, we can start to revive everything after the holidays, but in a different way. I've had thoughts of how to do that. We've also had thoughts, we talked about it a little bit, where it would be nice to have a global event between the 3 FRC teams when it's all done, but it would be all community based. It'd be like, every single FRC champion would have to have their own alts on every single data center in each region. And so basically we have to convince all these people to make these alts, and then they have to do a best of 3 on each region and see who comes out on top. Because that's the only way to make it even, because of lag and latency and everything else. But
so expanding on that, Frosty, I think, so like those things would be kind of like community events, right?
Yeah.
And I think they would actually work out if Square could maybe lend a hand in them as well, like whether it's through social media to promote it, or maybe provide prizes for the teams. So like it doesn't have to be like giant like cash prizes or anything like that, but it could be like Mog Station items, whatever. But getting some support from Square Enix and then letting the community do these events, I think would be a good way to help it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are the experts on this one.
Okay. Yeah.
I know we were just talking about it last night. Mateo, you have anything to say about it?
Yeah, sure.
What you do have to? Okay, good.
Well, it's because I had the chat message. I had to get rid of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Basically, it was just an idea. Like once the FRC is concluded, to the point of attraction would be the FRC teams that were in the FRC would be competing. And somehow because we're not exactly sure if there's going to be a world tournament. We're not even sure what's going to happen in 5.x in regards to the feast, in regards to PvP. But last year we had a closing quote unquote ceremony for 3.x PvP, which was the Aether Cup. This year we're kind of we have a lot more time to prepare this time around than the last time. So we're kind of looking at it like, all right, maybe we can, approach these teams that were in there and see if they want to play, and we can somehow, we haven't figured it out yet, but somehow figure out, how to move these alts around, how to move these characters around, so it's fair for everybody, and include Japanese, European, and NA teams and stuff like that. And then, if you want to, put your team into the mix, into the fray, you know what I mean? Like you'd reach out to us, maybe in like a Google Doc form or something like that, and we'd quote unquote go through an approval process, because we want to make it open, but we also want to make it exclusive in a sense, right? Like we don't want to make it too much of a quote unquote stop. But there's a lot of community-led events that are around, which maybe just a little bit of a nudge from Square, be like just like maybe like a retweet or something, be like, hey, this is happening. We can't really sponsor Square PvP right now ourselves because we're so busy, but these guys are doing it and it's really cool, and check it out, kind of thing. So
they actually do have some stuff like that on the JP side on Twitter and stuff. I saw some, but I think that's just a guy who kind of runs it over there, kind of supporting the other ones. And it sucks because, again, and I can say this every single day for the rest of my life until it happens, is that the community team that we have is really great and awesome, but they're literally, hey, you are a community team member and you do everything. Or at least that's my understanding of it. You do everything. Your job is to be community person overall. we don't have specialized people that can kind of tell us, hey, here's our rating guy who only focuses on rating. That's all he does, is he looks at PvE stuff. How do you make it better? And everything else, he ignores everything else and just focuses on that part of the community and pushes that over. Same thing with PvP, that same person. And that could make a huge difference, at least with growing these parts of the communities within the game. But
well,
sorry.
No, you shouldn't be sorry. That's the whole point of the show. That's why, like we said, we brought on the experts.
Mm-hmm.
I knew Sly and I were going to do very little once we got probably about 30, 45 minutes into the show.
That's okay.
That's why I'm glad I have we have another podcaster here, because you never.
I got some questions.
You never stop talking when we just bring you on. Never mind with two more guests.
I'm sounding a little Canadian now, aren't I? Sorry.
Honorable Canadian, Frosty.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
Like, what? Do I just go down? Like, I've got some maple syrup down. Says, am I honorary Canadian? It's like, what the hell's for the Frosty?
I do have some maple syrup in my house, though. It's like
and
a
it was brought from Canada, man.
Yeah, it was.
Honorary Canadian having maple syrup.
I mean, there are other things that, we constantly discuss within the PvP community that could help or change stuff. And I mean, being active with the community, I keep hitting this stupid little thing, but being active in a community, this little mic stand thing here, I keep hitting, sorry. I need to explain it a little bit better. It sounds weird. So going into the other parts of the topics that we talk about, we think, I don't know. One of the things that bothered me was the Blue Mage thing. You think that was only like a PvE thing where we're all kind of upset about it, but you know how many people were looking forward to Blue Mage in PvP?
That's true.
I think I talked to you about that briefly at some point.
We were...
you got some gears to grind about it? I'm really down to hear this.
I mean, I have a lot to say about Blue Mage, but in general to PvP, it was like, all right, now we have this nice little new thing that we can go out there and we can learn this new job, and a lot of people were looking forward to that, but now that's also another thing that we don't look forward to, right? So we are always reaching for things that we can look forward to. The thing that we're looking forward to now are solutions to problems. For example, the data centers, right? We have to figure out a solution of how to keep PvP active while they split up the data centers. And EU might hit them a little bit, but it's going to hit NA, I think, really, really hard, because it's going to basically probably filter everybody down to one data center to PvP. Because right now, if you queue up for PvP, you're doing what? You're waiting 30 minutes maybe for a match sometimes in prime time if you're playing a certain role. Now, if you split that 3 ways instead of 2 ways, how long are you waiting? And then there's people who are going to go to Crystal just so they can meme into the top 100 and get a reward real quick. But
I hadn't thought about that until I'm not going to do it, but I had thought of people doing that until now.
Yeah, it's with a lot of the different things with PvE and stuff, I think it'll be okay. In the end, it'll kind of balance out. But with PvP being as small as it is right now, this is just going to make it harder for the community, unless if we all, which I think is going to happen, we're all going to decide to move to one server, and then anyone who tries to PvP on the other 2 servers are going to be like, queues never pop. I don't know what to do. I have to change data centers if I want to PvP.
Yeah, I think that's unfortunate because there are people who are like, okay, fine, I'll give PvP a shot, and they queue and it doesn't work, right? And I think that's going to be even more difficult. It's
going to be impossible for some.
Yeah, like when that split happens, I wasn't really. That was like the first thing that we all thought of as PvPers. It's like, wow, this is going to really affect PvP. How do we fix this? And I don't even know if there's a solution to it, other than somehow networking the data centers together, and at least for queues. But obviously that's probably something they can't do, or it's what it seems like. So then there might have to be other solutions, like doing time windows, or like queue windows where you can only queue at certain times, but that way you funnel all the players at the same time, or all the teams at the same time. But obviously that's not the best solution for everybody, because some people can't queue at certain times either. Like they can only queue, or they're working, or they can't queue at prime time. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
Feedback.
I think it will be bad at the start. during the whole data center shakeup, but it won't be too bad. Again, this is, I feel, where, you know, the PvP community kind of crowdsources a solution among themselves. With the whole world travel thing, within data centers, it'll make it pretty easy. Like in terms of servers, yeah, you're right. It'll from server to server, it might be difficult, but with data centers, you know, with communication through the PvP community, I think it would be easy among data centers just to say, hey, we're just going to meet on one server and get shit popping on that server. Same with raid. I've said this before for raid too, where it would be easier to raid among a data center just by just collectively going to one server and trading and whatnot and everything like that. But with PvP, it's the same thing. Just go to one server,
one data center.
And yeah, one data center, go to one server, everybody's there, everybody can get shit popping.
So that's great.
It's great for the people who are already hardcore about it. It's
who
not
are
great
already
for
in the
new
community.
People.
Yeah.
The good news is you can duel anyone on your data center now because you can world visit.
We can have dueling championships, guys. We can see how that works.
Those White Mage versus Astro finals.
I think if the match goes to 5 minutes, both people lose. It's just, it's just done. They both
it's not even a
lose.
draw. It's just a loss for both people.
Yeah. Just done. No, I think it's going to be, again, the community, like how it is, we're going to probably decide to move to one area. We'll have our pops and everything else. But man, and somebody's getting into PvP. They're playing on Primal. They're like, oh, you got to be on Aether if you want to do it. I guess I'm not doing PvP.
And I feel like that is so shitty. And we've talked about that. That is so shitty having these kind of misconceptions about each data center. This is the RP data center. Aether's the fucking great.
Well, it's about to be very true.
Because there's no way to like stop it at this point, right?
Yeah.
We created this monster and we can't even stop it.
Yeah.
Is that way? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean there's unless they allow all three data centers to queue up into one queue, which would be weird. Because then at that point, why even separate them? So
yeah.
I'm gonna maybe just mention something maybe slightly controversial. I'm not sure, but when it comes down to it, I said this on your show, Frosty. So I feel like even rating itself, it doesn't really have that much of a populace, doesn't have that much of a representation, I should say, in Final Fantasy. Like it's not as big as it could or should be. Same with PvP. So sometimes I got a little bit tilted. I'm like, okay, what the hell do people do? Right? And like I said, it's maybe a little bit controversial. I don't want to offend anybody, but really, when it comes down to it, it's like, okay, well, you know, the gameplay aspects of the game is like, all right, you have rating, you know what I mean? Then you have PvP. Then you have like everything in the middle, right? Like you have the dungeons and you have your 24 mans, which is awesome. Those are a lot of fun. But really, where do all these people go? Where do all these people congregate? And
Eureka!
Gold saucer.
Anyway, well, Gold Saucer is funny because we kind of went on like the Final Fantasy website yesterday, and Nick and I were talking with a bunch of friends, and you know, you open up the marketing page for Final Fantasy. It's like, all right, story, character creation, right? And it's like, all right, Gold Saucer, housing, glamour. There's nothing about rating. There's nothing about PvP, and I'm just like, what the? Like, come on, man! Like these are, I don't know if you'd call them high-end activities, but these are activities, right? Yeah. Okay. I feel like they need some loving. Maybe I'm not sure.
Well, I want more than 4 bosses still in an ultimate every odd numbered patch. So you know, I'm
right
in that boat.
Yeah.
I want 6 bosses and an ultimate every odd numbered patch. That's what I want.
And one instance for the entire
raid. For the entire raid. Those are my 3 wish list things that will all never. Well, ultimate might happen. We might get 3 this next expansion. We're not getting it now though.
Yeah, like so it's kind of like at that point, it's like, all right, what would it take to flood these people into these activities? You know what I mean? It's like PV, you want 6 bosses, you know, and an ultimate. That's amazing. I would, like, I raid myself, and I would probably take it a lot more seriously as well. Not, you know, quit once I'm kind of done everything. PvP as well. It's like, all right, maybe some participation rewards and things like that. But it's like these solutions are out there. It's like, why aren't they being approached? It's like, are they content with the results or anything like that? It's kind of that's what kind of gets to us, because as a community, like as the PvP community, we've tried a lot of things. We've tried events and stuff like that. Go ahead.
Trying to like add on to that. I mean, I could be wrong too, but I think there's a difference in culture, right, between NA and Japan especially. So I remember reading something, I don't remember where, but I remember that the JP community kind of likes Eureka a lot more, I think, than NA. So like, you know, like I read something, they wanted to go home and cure Eureka as quick as possible, right? Like they were anxious to go home and queue it. And I'm like, okay, but so maybe like that's the problem they're having, like decision wise for designing this stuff, is like maybe one community wants something, whereas another community or another culture wants something else. And so what do they do? They probably will side maybe with Japan more, because it is, you know, a Japanese company. That's their, if they had to pick a community, it's probably going to be the Japanese community. But I don't know. I feel like that could be one of the reasons why we see these kind of issues come up sometimes. I don't know.
I just think they have ideas and they have a dartboard. And
you really think so? I mean, I think it's a little bit more involved than that. I think because Square Enix does some really cool things, but they also do some stupid stuff every once in a while. I'll say it. I mean, it's true. But when you start looking at some of the decisions they make, it's not like they do some things. Hey, this is going to market well. This is going to make more people play the game. But they also do things that aren't really going to make people want to play the game, but they feel is right. For example, again, nice little controversial Blue Mage conversation. Blue Mage, if they would have released Blue Mage and they just made it a standard cookie cutter Final Fantasy 14 job, you'd piss off a few hardcore people, but you'd probably bring more people into the game, right? It would be a good decision. Marketing,
Slyh agrees with you.
It would make money. People would come in and they'd say, "Hey, I want to play Blue Mage. I don't care. It's not super, you know, crazy. I can learn all these different jobs." I think people would just say, "Ooh, Blue Mage," and they'd come and play, and they'd get that kind of community building up within the game. Probably increase subs and everything else. But now they've created something that's pissed off a lot of people who play the game, who wanted to play Blue Mage, and they feel like they don't really have a job anymore, and he was thrown to the trash, right? But they feel it's more honest to what they want to do. So this isn't like it felt weird because it's not a really, to me, I don't know. It doesn't feel like a really smart marketing decision. It feels like hey, we think that this is going to be the right thing to do for our job in the game.
I just found it odd that Blue Mage is about soloing, right? Solo content. And in an MMORPG, when you're promoting solo content, that doesn't make much sense, right? Isn't it more about, you know, group content?
Funny thing about that is I think that promoting solo content it works pretty well in MMOs nowadays.
You think so?
Yeah, I think nowadays it does, because everyone goes, "Oh man, I could just do that." Oh, thank goodness, it's so easy to get to and do. Like it's that generation of things. I'm of the opinion that I would prefer to have Blue Mage just kind of standard, or, you know, a 14 version. There's plenty of versions of Blue Mage throughout all the. In 8, you learned it by using items. In 9, you ate bad guys. In 10, you used Lancet. In 7, it was Materia. In 6, it was Lores. In 5, it was, you know, the kind of standard way. 11 is the way we're most accurately, I guess, representing it, minus the more Arabian look that is used in Tactics in 11. And I would have been okay with Blue Mage being that, because then also, like you said, people don't forget. People think, "Oh, I can't raid with Blue Mage," but you've said it. You also can't PvP with it. It's not just locked out of PvE content. It's locked out of everything.
Yeah, it's pretty solo, and I mean, it's just a side content now. You turned in a job into a side content, and so it's. I feel like Square Enix, they definitely try with a lot of their decisions, and they're doing things that they think would be like. A lot of us wanted Diadem in a different way. We wanted a successful Diadem. You got a problem? Diadem? You want me to say Diadem? But no, they wanted to be successful in a different way. but it didn't work out. The community didn't respond to it well. I mean, they're trying stuff. They want to make things good. They're just like,
hey, Pyros, they finally got it, man. It took until now.
Yeah.
But now I'm leveling through Eureka right now. I'm level 13, by the way. Very proud of myself. So thank you. So I'm going through all that content and everything. I think if they got it right now, it's still hard for people to get into it and really enjoy what was right. So I don't know. Should they just scrap all the Eureka stuff and say, all right, well, we only have Pyros, right? So we're going to keep that one. I mean, they scrapped Diadem.
No, we're getting Hydatos. There's no doubt about that. It's 5.x. I don't think we're getting that anymore. No. But yeah, I mean, with Blue Mage, though, it's like... I actually think I'll get more mileage out of it with it being designed this way, because before I would have leveled it to max and probably never touched it for anything, and now it's like, oh, it's content for me, but I still don't want it to be the way I'd rather like have to think about it in raids and in PvP, and like I'd want to see it in those places.
Yeah, like what happens when you really enjoy Blue Mage? It's a lot of fun, and then you really want to play it with your friends or in a raid setting or in a group setting, and you can't.
Dude, 8 Blue Mage coils.
Pokemon
I'm ready.
Go or Let's Go. Done. There's your Blue Mage.
And I bet if there was, I'm done. I was just gonna say, if they had people who only focused on these certain aspects of the game and promoting this stuff, and then this would be something they probably would have changed their mind. They probably would have done the same thing. But it'd feel nice if we felt like our opinion. I don't know how to phrase it properly. Yeah.
I know that's what you wanted to say.
No, our opinion reached, right? And then after it reached, we heard a response. But we want that for every complaint, every thought, and everything. And we're not going to hear that as much because it's weird. I don't know. Do you guys pay attention at all to how the developers and the community team over in JP respond to all the issues and everything to the JP audience?
Because I can't. Up on Reddit, I do.
Yeah, when it pops up on Reddit and stuff. So I don't really know how that works with that kind of communication. But you guys know Ghostwalker, right? I say Ghostwalker. You guys know who that is, right?
Do you mean Ghost Crawler?
Ghost Crawler. Sorry, Ghost Crawler. Maybe
Nikoza already started laughing. He was like,
what the?
Yeah, Ghost Crawler. You guys know who that guy is.
He's on the League team now. He's over in League.
Yeah. That guy is a champion. And if we had, I mean, and again, it's different because there's a JP company over there and we're over here speaking a language completely different. It's hard to have that kind of back and forth. But it would be nice to have those kind of responses that he gave to the WoW community. But
I mean, yeah, but it's much like you said. It's much different over here. So
yeah,
let's get a little back on track here because
with the Blue Mage.
Yeah. Let's keep talking about Blue Mage now. No. I mean, it was about PvP still. Now we're talking about everything. Now it's a fan fest show more than anything.
Yeah.
So regarding PvP, I remember I spoke to a few people about PvP there. Obviously I mentioned Monk earlier, and you've mentioned metas and you've mentioned jobs that have burst windows and stuff. There has to be something about PvP that you don't want to survive into 5.x. Something about it. And I really want to know what it is.
I think my dog just died. I gotta go, guys.
There has to be something you like is just you do that and I'll love you forever.
Nikoza.
Frosty.
Yeah, I know you have a thought. I mean, medals, right? You guys are done with medals, right?
Yeah, like it's going back to what I've said. I mean, what we didn't like when it first came out, obviously, as veteran players, was the 9-button system, right? We liked the complexity that 3.x had, but maybe 3.x was a little too much, right? So maybe something like like a happy medium somewhere for 5.x, right? So a little bit more complexity there. So we didn't like how simple it was, I guess, at first. I don't really think the game mode is the correct way to go currently. So I enjoy it. I have fun playing Light Party with Feast. It's probably it's obviously the most fun I have in the game right now. But if that got taken away to a more simple game mode, I'd be fine with it too. As long as the jobs are more complex. And I think it doesn't have to be crazy either. Like, you don't have to give each job 15 new abilities or something right away. You can just kind of do it like a gradual process, like give each job a few, right? And then give more options in terms of traits and additional abilities. Give it more customization. So that way, I kind of feel this way about PvE too, but I'm not going to talk about that. But I think just more customization. So not every bar is the same. Not every, using the same 3 traits or the same 2 additionals. Yeah, that's probably, I don't know. I feel like I'm just repeating myself a lot because it's pretty much what I say a lot of the time to these questions. But I don't know, Mateo.
How's your dog, Mateo?
Yeah, it's okay.
Should be fine. Yeah,
okay.
He's sprung back to life. Yeah, honestly, what Nikoza said is completely accurate. The way we feel, we're both 3.x veterans and even 2.x veterans, and going into, I remember when we saw the 4.x trailer and the 4.x demo of like this I almost said Taro Lalafell Dragoon jumping on the dummy, in the wolf's den. We were like, all right, okay, what else he got? And then like his GCD kept turning into the next action, and eventually reaching like Fang and Claw and wheeling thrust and everything. Well, okay, well that's kind of cool, but then it was like, all right, well that's the abilities, that's all you have. You have 9 of them. And that was like a bunch of us were in voice, actually. A bunch of like 3.x veterans, and a lot of like we were really deep into it. We were like, what the heck did we just watch? What is this? It's kind of like when Xeno watched that warrior, when he was going crazy with that clip of him going crazy with the warrior doing like 5 pleas at a time. We were kind of like that, but the opposite.
Like that, but not like it at all.
Not like it at all. Yeah, exactly. So just, anyway, we do honestly think that like just more complexity to the jobs would be really good, because the skill floor and the skill ceiling are really, really blurred. Like take Black Mage, for example. I don't know if I said this on the show, but skill floor, if you can press Fire 4, you're 25% of the way there. If you can press Sleep the right way, you're bumped up to like 75% of the way there. So really separating those dynamic players that are thinking on their feet and separating them from the individuals that are like, all right, well, I can press 3 buttons, should be just a lot more distant. Do you know what I mean? There's just reward the players that put in the time and the effort, that actually care to get better, instead of the ones that are just like, oh, cool, I'm just doing this. So that's what the biggest issue right now for me is that the skill floor and the skill ceiling is just really, really blurred.
I think like basically what happens is before, a lot of veteran players had to go back into the simplified version, and they left the game. They just said, I'm not doing Beast anymore. We lost a lot of the community because people felt like it just wasn't enjoyable to do anymore. And I understand why they did it. And I mean, it makes sense. And I think in the end, if they started with this mode, instead of the jumble stuff that 3.x was, we'd have a different response to Feast completely. We'd be a lot more positive about it.
Yes.
But we did have stuff taken away. So a lot of people were upset about that. And I noticed something I was on the edge of when the expansion was coming out was, I don't know how the community is going to respond to it. But at the same time, we have this thing where a new player enters the game, right? They get up, they get better. They're like, hey, I'm doing pretty good now. Then the guy who's been in it for 3 years is right here next to him. Mm-hmm. He's really not that far away. And then you eventually, you get to that line, and either they just leave because there's nothing else and they don't care anymore. They feel like they can't really improve. Or they sit there and try to find every little tiny detail they can to try to make themselves a little bit better, which is just a handful of people, right? The people who are out there trying to hit those trying to abuse server ticks, trying to find ways to like push themselves that much further. People want to hit buttons and feel like they hit buttons better than the other guy who hit buttons. Right now, you can't really do that. So you come down, the meta comes down to how you play, how you interact with the other players. And a lot of people have a hard time grasping that too, because they just want to go out there and do as good as they can by themselves. They don't get rewarded for that as much. They have to be rewarded for, hey, can I follow this guy who's not doing countdowns or paying attention? Can I try to time my burst with him? Will it work out, and will we get a kill because I can figure out when he's trying to do a burst? Or how can I carry my other team to do better? That's where you start to get better. When you get into the light party, it's how do we synergize the best against their synergy? But
I mean, generally speaking, like if you compare 3.x to 4.x and the accessibility of the both of the system, like 4.x is miles ahead in that regard, right? Like 3.x, you had to be the max level, and you had to like gear was actually a requirement, and the type of gear that you used, you know, God forbid you use purple gear from diadem, whatever.
Pink gear.
Pink. Thank you. Yeah, it did not have any effect. Your secondaries were just obsolete, right? So there was just a lot more to know that wasn't actually stated in the game. But whereas you know you look at 4.x where it's like, all right, any gear you wear is whatever, you just put on a fashion show kind of thing. So I think that's a step in the right direction, but also maybe just some people do want something to look forward to when it comes to the equipment and PvP.
Yeah.
But ultimately I think it's a lot more approachable, but maybe it's approachable to the fact that people just don't really even research even a little bit before they step in. That's how easy it is to step in. Like personally, if it were up to me, it's like, all right, reach level 10 PvP rank or something, and then you can keep ranked. Just so you have an understanding.
They reach level 10 PvP rank as like a tank, and then they say, I want to do white mage for feast, and then they rank 1, right?
Well, I'm just thinking of like Overwatch or something, right? It's like, you know, reach a certain rank in that specific mode, and then you can try your hand at it, which I think is good, right? Like it's a better way to kind of go about it because you're more exposed and you have a general idea, whereas you kind of don't afterwards. But really, when it comes to like the skill ceiling and the skill floor, there isn't that much of a difference between strong players and bad players. Like we thought that, you know, with the advent of with the shift from 3.x to 4.x, the strong players are going to get stronger. Well, yeah, sure, they, you know, retain some of their skill and everything like that, but the individuals that were underperforming to a certain extent, they caught right up. You know what I mean? So now it's kind of a blur. All right, who's, you know, before you could walk into a match, be like, all right, my team is stacked. You know, we're going to do really good. But now you may have that opportunity where it's like, all right, we're stacked, but we're not necessarily going to win because of the nature of Feast and everything like that, and just how the skill differentials work at this point in time. So, which
could be good for solo queue overall, but I mean,
the emphasis on team play is really, really high.
It's huge. Like that, your skill with team play matters more than your skill hitting buttons, I think, almost. Because you go in there, you just have to work together with the other team. The range and the melee depend on each other. If they don't work together, then you're just going to lose. If the other team can work together with their range and melee that much better. Because you just can't get a kill without each other.
Yes, your mechanical skill doesn't really have that much of a game changer as much as it did before, basically.
Yeah, like I said, I remember being the ninja who could burst someone from 100 to 0 out of stealth in a second without much room for anything, and I can't do that anymore.
No, not at all. You can get about maybe halfway if they don't see you coming. Or if you stealth and then you limit break, because I think Ninja currently has the only limit break that can't be interrupted at all because they just come out of stealth with it and then there's no way to stop it, right? Unless if they run away.
They LOS you by accident.
Yeah. But it's strange.
Yeah, that's one way for it. That's one way to put it. It is pretty strange, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
I want PvP to be back in a state because I love Seal Rock. I loved early Feast days. It didn't have staying, like, as the changes have made it less and less desirable to me, and I want it to come back.
Happy. Then I definitely, can I ask you this question? What would bring you back into PvP right now?
Well, outside of Monk, because I really want to play Monk in PvP and I really hate it. That's like the quick way to at least get me in for a few matches.
Okay.
But I like Nikoza's thing, speaking at the beginning of the match, speaking after the match is over. I want that. Okay. I don't need to be able to speak the whole time, but I want that. And
what if they hid your name so they didn't know it was you?
Yeah, I mean, if they really want to find out it's me, they're going to find out it's me. Okay. Like, I'm of that opinion. Like, you see a character, like you said, you see a character enough, you know who it is, kind of thing.
Okay.
That was how it was early on when they did hide our names early on in the early feasts. People didn't know if I was on the other team. It just said ninja or like you could see it in the menu, like the scoreboard, but you couldn't see it otherwise.
Right.
It just said like Paladin,
Oh, okay,
Dark
yeah.
Knight. Yeah. So people didn't always look. So I could get away with it there. But yeah, so speaking there, Monk changes, and honestly, I feel like my interest in Seal Rock fueled my interest in Feast, and my disinterest in Shatter and Rival Wings has thus fueled my disinterest in the Feast.
So literally the kind of the group activities, the outside layer, the battlegrounds of Final Fantasy 14 are kind of things that detract you from going into a serious PvP mode.
Yeah, because that if I can't enjoy it when it's supposed to be at its like most laid back, I don't know if I'm gonna enjoy it when I start taking it more seriously. Like for me, like I could do a few serious matches, do a few casual matches, do a few serious matches, do a few there's something to wet the palate. I don't feel like I have that anymore.
Right.
Just
That's true.
that's
Okay,
just
Sly
how it
is making lots of faces, so I gotta know what's on his face.
Don't blame this shit on fucking Shatter. Fuck you. Give your balls a tug.
Sly, when was the last time you were in Feast? Yeah, that's what I thought. Moving on.
It wasn't. It actually was after we couldn't use our words. So there. Fuck you.
Yeah,
Okay.
you just tried it once. You tried it, and then that's it.
I mean, did that really turn you guys off
Try.
a lot when they removed chat? You were kind of like, that's one of the reasons.
It did
It
destroy
pissed
a
me
lot
off.
for me.
It did piss me off.
Okay. I mean, and these little things, and it's funny because that happened so long ago, right? So long ago, but these little changes, they do push people away. They need to do things to push people back in and pull them back in, and then to show support that constantly says, hey, come play Feast, come play PvP. This is fun. Maybe, I don't know if they should put a hairstyle behind Feast, man. It just...
Yeah, I don't think
I mean,
rewards.
I mean, there's
is-
already one behind
Way to go.
Wolfmark, so
I mean, putting gear, if they change the way they did, if they make the only gear that matters in PvP, if like even if it's just a slight bit, it reward it in PvP and not have to go
Yeah,
do a
they
dungeon
tried
500
that
times to get the most
once.
efficient gear, then sure.
But
I remember when they tried that morale stat thing.
Yeah.
But
They
does PvP need more free chicken?
No, I'm tired. It's too much.
It doesn't really, I mean, having it there would be great, but I mean, they should have rewards in PvP that improve things in PvP. Right?
Okay.
So the chicken, you get the chicken to do better at getting more chicken, right? And so you feel I don't know. You get chicken plus one. I don't know how to phrase that. But I mean, like if you brought back in gear, but made it to where the gear only really matter. I guess you could make it matter in raid too. That would be not a bad thing, but not like
I think
not better. But
It wouldn't matter.
people have suggested, allowing you to get PvP gear, but that gear could be used for PvE, right? So like you don't want to do dungeons because you don't feel like doing dungeons, so you'll do some PvP, get that gear, and it'll
but normal mode level, like not raid.
You're not gonna get like savage gear from PvP. That's not fair. But just to help you out, like give you a different avenue for getting gear. But I don't think that gear should help you in PvP. Like it shouldn't have that morale stat that we were talking about earlier. Like
Morale was weird. It like gave you. It was like an item level bump equivalent. Like it was so weird the way that. Morale worked.
it wasn't well done.
Yeah.
But I think there is enough chicken, as you guys are saying, inside inside PvP, like in terms of rewards and stuff and tomes. But I think that's not the direction they should be going. It's the fixing of the modes of Frontline of Feast. That's the direction they should be going. Fix those modes.
Same chicken that's in all the other modes is in PvP. There's glam, tomestones, hairstyles, all like it's all there. That's the chicken of other content.
But the incentives ruin it, though. That's the whole thing. People there, you get people there.
That's why I'm saying no more chicken. Like, chicken's
Well,
not the problem.
Not hairstyle chicken, right? Not hairstyle chicken.
Just there doesn't need to be like you need more. Like I don't get me wrong. I'm not saying never add more glamour. I'm just saying you don't need another type of chicken. You've got grilled, fried. You've got the potatoes with the the gravy. You don't need.
I can be hungry, man.
Yeah, geez. And I mean, again, we need perception changed of it too, but the only way to change perception is to give someone something easy they can access and enjoy while they're accessing it, right? Again, capture the flag could be one of those fixes, those random fixes that could make things better. Goro happened around the same time Still Rock was getting popular, right?
Oh, I loved it. It was fantastic.
Yeah, and that didn't work out too bad. It worked out pretty good. And unfortunately, it was around the same time they removed Feast Chat, so I think they put some correlation between, hey, a Feast Chat was removed, so PvP got more active when it was really the Goro event. But there's just misconceptions that need to be cleared up, and I feel like that, again, goes to a previous point. But I do have another question for the non-PvPers on the show.
Cool.
If you guys want it. You want it?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
The FRC overall, like how it was done. You guys mentioned the audience was growing and everything else. Before FRC and after FRC, did your feelings towards PvP change at all?
Yeah.
A little.
I'd know, for me, I'd say a considerable amount.
Okay.
I'd say. I mean,
there is interest for me to get back into Feast and do it after watching high level play. And then,
that's for me. I when you see what it can look like
Mhm.
versus how you remember it last are two very different things. Now, obviously, I'm not going to hop in there and it's not going to look the same for me, and I understand that. But it makes me want changes to it so I can enjoy it again more.
Okay.
It's not just like a passive thought. It's like, please, just do a few things.
Mhm.
Because I won't sit in the 30 minutes. I will wait 8 minutes and be like, I will go do something else with my time.
Well, you just have to play a different job. You have to play like healer or you have to play tank, whatever's just popping immediately, right? So it forces you into doing something you still don't want to do. But let's just say, all right, you guys are invigorated. You sell the FRC. You're like, I want to get into Feast. What's your option now? You queue up solo queue? But how's your experience going to be afterwards?
Have to.
Right?
I mean, yeah, you're right. It's going to be the same experience that well, maybe not the exact same, but the same experience that we had before FRC.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing that can be done. Solo queue is solo queue. Will always be the same. It's a mixed bag. There's nothing we can do about it. I mean, that doesn't deter my interest that I got from FRC and saying, hey, I should, go back and give Feast a try and see what it's like now. And, if it's the same, fine. I'll still have whatever time I may have in it, good or bad. But it still, I still have interest. That's not going to get taken away.
Okay.
I'll always want it to be better. I'm never going to be in the boat of delete it like some people are.
Right.
My favorite thing, I got to say, like I had, my heart felt really warm when this happened during the Q&A. They were talking about something, and I forgot exactly what the question was, but during the Q&A at FanFest, it was something related. Somehow PvP got mixed in there, and someone yelled,
Delete PvP.
Yeah, it was something like that, right? And then Yoshida literally stopped what he was saying to say, hey, please, look, just because you don't like it, don't say that. That's not fair, right?
It's like there's people who don't like PvE too. Should we just delete PvE? It was like...
Right. It felt good to hear that. And I want to hear that even more. And I think that would make a good difference. But
well, I think we need to start hearing about PvP for 5.x prior to like 2 weeks before.
Well, so I don't know. I'm assuming this is what I can hope and assume. All right. So the guy who develops PvP, he's over there, one of the developers. I'm assuming he's going to be at the JP FRC. I'm assuming they're going to make some sort of PvP panel and they're going to discuss things going forward. That's what I'm hoping, but that's not until March. So
long way to go.
Yeah. The community just has to do stuff until then to keep ourselves busy. I mean, that's just what it is.
All right. Well, I think we've beaten PvP and FRC topics into oblivion with lots of good thoughts, lots of good hopes for the future. So before we wrap up the show, I want to. This isn't your like closings. This is like any final thoughts to get off your chest, things you want to say regarding FRC, things you want to say regarding PvP. This is just an open floor, and then we'll do sign offs. You can find me at all that stuff, yada yada. So
Okay.
let's start with Nikoza and give us just any thought you didn't get off your chest up to this point.
I think I said pretty much everything I wanted to say. But like if you're listening, Square Enix, just don't drop light party support. Keep it going. I think there's a lot of new players that want to do it because they want to queue with their friends. And then that, and give us small front lines. So give us CTF. Give us capture the flag. Sorry. Give us things, small battlegrounds that will constantly be popping. You don't have to wait for 72 people to be in queue. Because I think 8 versus 8 was something that people enjoyed, like they could just mess around in. So give us something like that for 5.x, and don't stop with these weird game modes, because I don't know if Rival Wings was that successful in Japan, but here it was active for a week or something, or 2 weeks, and then it kind of just went dead.
As soon as people got 100 wins for that mount.
Yeah, so give us more buttons, and keep doing this FRC stuff. Like keep expanding on it. Keep moving forward. Because a lot of us that actually went and participated, we all had a really, really good time. So we really thank you guys for that. Yeah, that's about it.
Mateo?
Ayo.
Not Mateo.
Mateo?
God damn it. I absolutely echo everything that Nikoza said. If I had to add anything, really, it would be like, I know there's a lot of people that they may hear, like through the grapevine, okay, PvP is trash, or it's just delete PvP, it's not worth it, and stuff like that. Before even trying it themselves, I really do think it's a mistake. As someone who likes to kind of like try a little bit of everything and make my own, judgment on whatever it is, I would suggest to you to give it a shot, do some research before you step in, of course. There's plenty of resources, which will be getting expanded upon indefinitely as well. Just get in there, and make your own assumptions. If you don't like it, find your reason for not liking it, whether it be lack of incentive or just, server netcode, whatever the heck you don't like about it. Just, all right, cool. You tried it, but don't, tab out and go to red and be like, oh, this effing sucks. This is the worst thing in the world. Delete PvP. Do not parrot, something that doesn't really necessarily need to be parroted. Just find your own conclusion and stick to it and be like, all right, cool. I'm not going to touch that anymore. All right, nice. All right. Anyway, moving on. If you do enjoy it, do support the mode. Try to reach out to people and try to reach out to these resources that we have out there and be like, hey, you know what? This is really cool. Thank you for putting forward these resources for us to read and acknowledge and take some wisdom from. Just be humble, man. Be a good person, and the community is not as shitty as you think it is. Honestly, it's actually really, really, it's a really good community. It's very extroverted, of course, because it is PvP. But just don't paint it with the same brush that that other people might paint it with. Be open-minded, basically. That's my take on it.
And Frosty, what about you?
Dude, they took everything, dude. I don't have anything to say. They took like all the stuff that needs to be said.
Any shoutcast, anything shoutcasting wise you'd like to see implemented? Anything that would have made your job easier, made your life easier for stuff like that?
There's thing. Again, it was the first time. I can't really have many complaints.
Mean you don't have a wish list.
I do, but there's all stuff that I noticed. They're not like huge things. I think overall, they did a pretty decent job with the FRC kind of going off of. This is the first time I think Square Enix put a really professional setup for competitive people on stage at FanFest. They had the other events before, but this was pretty serious. So they did pretty good with that. There's stuff with like we would be looking in the game, and while we were shoutcasting, and we're just like, hey, look at all this stuff happening in the game, but the cameras were still on our face while we were saying that. That was a little awkward, but that's like the only thing that was off a little bit. I really appreciate everybody who got together, all the community managers in the background, everybody who made it actually happen, worked their ass off, and went through all the challenges to try to make it as great as it was. And I think overall, the FRC, the NA one was a success. It was done really well, and I hope that success continues on. And again, I think most of the community, if I'm going to speak towards Square Enix, just wants to know they're being heard and make sense out of changes that are happening. Because we'll get a change every once in a while, and we're like, well, we just pissed off half of the community with this one change that makes no sense to anyone. And 6 months later after it, we still agree it makes no sense. So I feel like there just has to be like some kind of dedication towards just that aspect of the game and other places besides just the JP side of it. And I appreciate everyone who does all the work. Like Clem, he does a lot of work for PvP over on the EU side. Rennie does a lot of work on the NA side here. And also, I guess one big thing for the community, don't believe everything everyone says on the internet, because people say shit just to vent and say shit. And it happens all the time. If you believed all of it, you'd be pretty...
Depressed. Yeah.
Depressed. You'd be
That's
pretty
the word
depressed.
I was looking for.
You'd be like, why am I even playing this game? You got to like shift through to salt. And unfortunately, PvP does have salt, so it might have a little bit more you have to kind of go through. But give it a try. There's different ways. There's different communities out there that are out there to help you. There's communities out there of a handful of people who want to make everybody feel bad so they can get a good laugh. But that's everywhere. I mean, that's what it is. Just surround yourself with people that make you happy in the end. And always remember, if you're doing PvP and you lose, look at what you could have done versus what your team did wrong. Because there's always something you could do better. And it's a game. That's the end. I mean, we all come here to have fun. If you're not having fun, you're not enjoying yourself, put yourself in a position where you're having fun and you're enjoying yourself. Life advice.
Quick side note.
Yeah.
I remember the days when Frosty was on Primal and he was PvPing. After every match, he had instant replay and he would look back on his own match. The man is serious. Like,
yeah.
Before you decide to start passing blame on others.
I'd love to do that more too. If I get more time to it, it'd be great because those replays were fun. Sometimes the queues, it just had to work out with the queues and how they popped and everything. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is if you really wanted to, then get OBS, record your game, and then see what you did wrong later on. Look at someone died. Why did someone die? Someone didn't die. Why didn't someone die? Look at those situations and you can become 500 times better.
All right, excellent. Slyh, got anything to add before we go on into wrapping up? Just went on a side note there. You got anything else?
No, that's pretty much it. It's PvP. After watching FRC, like I said, I do have a renewed interest in PvP. Is it where it needs to be? No, it's not perfect. Will it get there anytime soon? Probably not.
Damn. The honesty.
Not wrong.
I mean, I'm not wrong. I'm being brutally honest. That's the only thing I can be. So it's not like it's going to take time. It's going to take dev resources, and it's going to take the community being brutally honest about it. So say what you feel. Honest feedback, positive or not, constructive criticism is what the community is, what the devs need. So, it's okay to judge and, be critical or of what you see in PvP at this point. You shape this game in any sense, not only PvP but PvE as well. So, be honest with yourself, be honest with the game, be honest with the devs. It's the only way the game's going to get better. It's the only way PvP is going to get better. Mike, you got anything to say?
No. I'm going last. Everything I could have said's taken.
No,
I don't. I kind of already. I said it before I even asked any of all of you. It was the last thing I said before I asked, which was in regards to I want it to be better. I never want it to be deleted. I just want it to be better. That's it. That's how I feel.
But we want all content to be better, right? It doesn't matter what we do. We want it to be better.
PvP's not excluded. That's my point.
Don't be sorry. Be better.
But we just want it to be better.
I want it. I just want my content. That's it. Just want all the content. All right. So with that, it's about a 2-hour mark. Normally, Frosty would have been going to work already, but since he's not in a fucking rush, then we'll just. I made sure we'll just take our time with this show.
Yeah.
Take advantage of that. So thank you, Nikoza, Mateo, Frosty, for joining the show. Here at the end, I've actually meant to change that this week, but I was a bit flustered with recent plans, and I'm going to Jersey next week, so I had to get that all set up. We basically do a few things, then you guys sign off, and then we go on into a post show where you can stick around for 30 seconds or 5 minutes or whatever it is, just to hang around. So I'm going to start that, and then I'll let you guys say where they can find you, character names, Twitters, any of that. And we're good.
Okay.
So first of all, reminder all viewers, SteelSeries sponsors the show. You can win free shit. Go to the YouTube video, look in the description, enter the giveaway. We pull that as soon as it ends, and then I go to the winner and ask them what they want. It's free shit. SteelSeries sponsors the show. There's no reason not to enter. Just win. Just do it. Get a new mouse. Get a new headset. Get a keyboard. Do something. It's free shit. All right. Then we have our Patreon sponsors who support the stream through or support the show through #demonetized over on YouTube. And it's a pretty long list of names. We have our patrons of light. First and foremost, we have Khuja on Jenova and Kurenai Oni. Now, I'm pretty sure that my scene got messed up for this with their new images. So I'm going to edit in their new images for the YouTube side of things. But for the Twitch side of things, we will go over into this. This is Kurenai's. Where is Khuja? There's Khuja. It's an old image. He's got a new character, believe it or not. But Khuja on Jenova with this image and Kurenai Oni with this one. So thank you for supporting the stream through #demonetized and going above and beyond to support us as well. I'll get the correct images for the YouTube side. We also have our standard sponsors over on Patreon. We have Crazed Demeter from Midgard, Rynoet Ventinus from Cactar, I almost said Vanitas, Carol, Ray, Senchi, Shadowlink on Tomberry, Dom. What do you, Slyh? I saw it. I saw your name. I didn't even see the face. I saw your name. I was like, Sly's pog champing, isn't he? I knew it. I knew you were doing that. I knew it was happening. Shadowlink on Tomberry, Dom, Asuka Wake from Jenova, Lamilia Nella, Midgard's Armor, Serren the Fennel Family, John Yatsu, Kifca and the Great Eagles on Exodus, Dark Graver, Aoshi from Kujata, Skia Symphonia from Ragnarok, Rylanator Westaus The Purple Warrior, Eadric Redsteele on Exodus, Lexxie Valentine, Mantaru the Rivivus FC from Zodiark, Sour Cream and Tribes from Jenova, Rynoet Chikara, Goetia Valefar of Siren, I always say that because I'm so used to the names that go in a certain order. Phoenix Down FC on Goblin, and Serren from Zodiark. And we have our elite sponsors. We have Nyrek Vizsla of the Red, Alchemy, Shinka, Casual Heroes, FC on Midgard's Armor, Tatach on Hyperion, Kano Uzuki from Jenova, U Starla, Sathal, Sarah Frost from Behemoth, Holy Tabasco, Red Thorn Asura, Crash 015, Mustang, Serenity FC on Ultras, Cat Kazuma, Ignis Fairground from Excalibur, Valestra, Fanfront, Knockcord from Excalibur, Krovos Moonscar, Private Mikey, 90 Kirisami, Rudy Rudiger, Killer Hackman, Raul Jr., and Kiltastic Jones. I hate you, Slyh.
Thank you, everyone, for supporting us in combating #demonetized.
Yeah. And now our guests can begin their sign-offs. I'm just going from like counterclockwise from like where I am on the screen. So we're going to start with Nikoza, then Mateo, then Frosty, then Slyh, then me. Okay? Nikoza, final shout-outs. What would you like to say here at the end? Where can they find you?
I don't really stream much or really use a active Twitter that much, but you can find me basically on Discord mostly. I'm in the Wolf Pups Den Discord. It's a Discord for players that are interested in PvP to ask questions, or if they're new to it, maybe like learn about their job. There's many guides on there as well, so you can find me on there. You can feel free to DM me if you want. I'm always happy to answer questions. And shout out to my team, Linvara, Stragus, Divine, Air, and of course Mateo here. And if you also want to check out PvPaiza, it's a PvP website ran by Marshall Renew. He does a really good job kind of keeping it updated with any news, especially with community events. So it's pvpaiza.com if you want to check that out. And shout out to Frosty and Plus for doing a good job at the FRC. Thanks for having me on.
All right, Mateo, you're up next.
Thank you. Likewise, the same shout outs as Nikoza had. You can likewise find me on Discord. My Discord ID is Mateo #1211. I do stream occasionally. It's X Banana Juice Y. Yeah, I have a character. Anyway, yeah, I won't go too much into it.
X banana juice.
DM me those after
Yes,
so I
thank
can
you.
put them in the
X banana
description of the
juice.
YouTube video.
Sure thing. Definitely. Furthermore, kind of expanding a little bit on the Wolf Pup stand that Nikoza mentioned, it is a learning Discord for PvP, which will actually be getting revamped. And the revamp for that Discord will actually be landing on the 1st of January next year. Really look forward to that. It's going to be a collaboration between something that Nikoza said earlier, a website there, and look forward to it because we're going to be pumping out a lot of guides. And the format of it is going to be following very similarly to a well-known Discord called The Balance. So we're going that route, and we're going to try to just expand and make it like a centralized PvP hub. If you have questions, we have answers. If you want to meet people, you can meet people and really talk about whatever you want to talk about. You know, it doesn't have to be PvP. But really, that's our goal with it. And our main goal has always been just to get more participants in the mode and try to help out as much as we can. So a few more shout outs for me is, of course, Rodham Hollow for helping us with everything and just being just the greatest person on earth. Some of our scrim partners, General Asudesu, Joe Gunta, Last Boss. Thank you guys very much. And of course, all the FRC participants that we met and future FRC participants in the EU and JP. Good luck and have fun. And thank you, Mr. Happy and Slyh. You guys are awesome. Big fan.
Big fan. I'm a big fan of you too.
Oh.
X Banana Juice Y.
Juice.
I'm never gonna forget that name. So
Good.
you'll stay with me forever.
I mean, thank you.
All right, Frosty, you're up next.
Frosty?
Where can they find you at?
Man, you can check me out on Twitter. I think it's on the stream somewhere down in one of the corners. FrostyTV stream. It's very original. When I made my name, I was like Frosty. Sorry, taken _TV. Okay. Twitter. Sorry, taken Frosty TV stream. Okay, that's good. I'm not very good with names. But yeah, you can check that out. You can check me out on Twitch. Like I said, Frosty _TV. I don't really stream as much anymore. Maybe one day that'll change. The main thing I do is I try to do Mog Talks as much as I can every Saturday around 2 p.m. PST. We've been doing pretty good recently. We had the show on Blue Mage. We had the show on PvP just recently too. We're going to be doing other ones in the future next 2 weekends that you guys should check out. And it's basically going over all the different topics for that happened at FanFest. Just split it up into 4 different shows. And let's see. Shout out. I have to shout out my wife, Kerberos, most beautiful, wonderful person I've ever met in my entire life. That I'm happy that I married just about a month and a half ago.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank
I said
you.
Congratulations before, but congratulations again.
Thank you. But without her support and without her being around and being geeky with me every once in a while, doing video games and stuff, I'd be less inspired to be around doing the stuff that I do with the community. So thank her thank her, guys. I thank her very much for everything that she's done for me. And definitely thank you to all the community, everyone out there, all the people who make it happen and make it, again, the reason why I'm here being a part of PvP. But yeah. And the community team. Thank you, community team. You guys are great. Okay. And thank you, Slyh. And thank you, Happy. You guys are great.
No, you don't need to thank us.
No, I did anyways.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Felt like you. I'm glad you forgot us completely. And then,
at the very end, I could shove you to the.
like, oh yeah, those guys.
Yeah. Guys who made the show happen today. Yeah.
All right, Slyh, you're up next. Where could they find you at, buddy?
You can find me every day, twitch.tv/Slyh, aka Greyfox, Twitter @Slythefox, Instagram Slyh, aka Greyfox07, youtube.com/The Velvet Room. As usual, I'll play too many damn games, and it's only going to get worse over Christmas because as I'm finishing games, I'm putting more on the list. So finishing Red Dead tomorrow. Next week, I'm putting Super Robot Wars on the list because anime mix. and starting Devil Survivor 2 Record Breaker for SMT Saturday this Saturday. So things. And, things. Haps, where can they find you?
You can find me, Mr. Happy1227, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. We had some fun stuff. We got to play Pantheon, Rise of the Fallen, and pre-Alpha 4 the other day. That was shaping up pretty good. And then on top of that, going to be on the Square Enix channel on Thursday to play Last Remnant before then coming home. Yeah. I never got to finish Last Remnant because I didn't own an Xbox and they never released it for PS3. And I honestly didn't know it was on Steam until they took it off Steam to release the PS4 version. So I'm looking forward to getting around to that. Smash is Friday. I'm playing Smash because Nintendo, you done good. You done a good thing recently.
Did a good thing.
You did a good thing recently. So I'm gonna play Smash.
Proud of you.
Yeah, I'm proud of you, Nintendo. I'm proud of you. Still got some kinks to work out, but I'm proud of you at the very least. And then Game Awards is Thursday. I'm gonna be co-streaming that. Go to New Jersey next week. Then 15 has their half of the 14 collaboration next week on the 13th, which we have heard nothing about on our end for 14, and we're hoping FanFest, or I'm sorry, next live letter is when we'll hear about that. So that's December. So it's going to be busy. And then January is no less different because Kingdom Hearts is there. So be on the lookout. There's a lot of stuff that's on the way. And I think we'll be playing Occupied leading up to Shadowbringers in, what did they say, early summer, I think? Yeah. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us. We're going to go on into a post-show where we just hang out for a few minutes. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and we will see you next time. So everyone, have a good one, and take care.
See you next week.
See ya.
Thanks.